All right, let's get into episode 204 of the Current Gen podcast. My name is Tim. I'm here with Dan and Jeff and Kyle. And guys, we're not ranking anything tonight. Take a breath.
God.
Are you sure about that?
I can start liking you guys again.
Yeah, no kidding. Number five, Baldur's Gate, number 5.
Yeah, number 5, Baldur's Gate. Good job, guys.
Baldur's Gate, number 5.
I haven't slept since we voted, so you know.
I think it's like 78% of most outlets out there picked it as their number 1, but we picked it number 5. We picked
number 5. Right. Where it belongs, right? You know?
Baldur's Gate is the
that game deserved to be humbled. Come on.
Yeah.
Baldur's Gate is
we took
Booker
it
T.
the
down more
Roman
than a peg
Reigns
or
of
two.
video games. It's just
the Roman Reigns.
Oh, see, I was gonna say he's the Booker T of 2023. He's a 5-time.
When someone asks, "Hey, how's Boulder Gate?" Well, you go, "It's mids," because it's 5. It's literally in the middle. So
it's literally
in
the middle of everything else. Yeah.
So that's y'all's choice, not mine.
Dude.
Yeah. So if you're just checking out the show for the first time, we just finished our Game of the Year rankings, debates, kind of year celebration. I think. I don't know. It didn't feel. I didn't feel like it was contentious. I thought at the end it was more like, "Hey, let's just all make a case at the end for our favorite thing." It was nice. It was good.
Yeah.
There have been some years where it's less than. I don't know if happy is the right word, but there's years where I certainly don't feel like the conversation was completed and still we had a final ranking somehow. And I'm like, crap. How did we pick Dark Souls 3 in 2016? You know what I mean?
I think we've all had to do this at some point. Yeah, right. I think we've all had to do this at some point, but you have to swallow your pride whenever you're walking in.
That's right.
And you're the only one cheering on a game. You know, I think we've all shown up with that
you have
as
to swallow
our
your
number
pride
1.
like months before to prepare.
Yeah. Like, I guess no one's gonna play Xenoblade Chronicles 3, so you know, I just gotta hope to just at least it lands somewhere on the list. You know,
I would have. You know, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Kyle. I would have. Yeah.
It was my
bad. I think we've all shown up with like a number 1. We're just like, this is not going to work out for us. So.
Oh yeah.
But this year I didn't feel like that. I feel like everyone we kind of all had the similar kind of top 5. So.
Well, we know for sure all 4 of our number 1s were in the top 2, which is I don't think that's ever happened when all of our number 1 game.
That's pretty good.
That's true.
I honestly want to say thank you guys because Final Fantasy was our game of the year. A Final Fantasy game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
was our game of the year. So you know what? Redemption for remake not being number 1 because you were all wrong.
Well,
remake was number 1.
That was correct.
What did I choose in front of that? There was something else that definitely came out that was better in that.
Ghost of Tsushima and The Last of Us Part 2 were kind of the.
Oh yeah, Ghost of Tsushima. Come on.
Yeah.
Also, number 3.
It's a remake.
Ghost of who?
So.
Is that Cyberpunk also?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Well, shut up.
Jeff,
shut up, Dan.
No, absolutely not.
No,
excuse me. The most important video game in the last decade, maybe even longer. Okay, so I'm just gonna,
guys. We said we're not ranking.
I think remake.
So it's so important they had to remake it because they messed it up the first time.
They did.
Okay.
Messed it up, yeah.
Listen, you schmuck. You haven't even watched that recap yet, have you? You haven't even watched the recap yet, have you?
I'm very busy. I'm watching a lot of Sundance.
I need you to log off right now and go and watch the recap.
Actually, guys, that's what we're gonna do for this episode. We're just gonna fire up the recap and watch it together.
Yeah, we should do that. We should do that.
In a world
where fantasies are not final.
Oh man, yeah. Well, I hope. I know I enjoyed it. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And it's time to look to 2024. We are almost to the end of the first month of the year, and there's been some really significant games that have released already, both in terms of just newsworthy conversations, in one case, record-breaking, which is crazy. And also some kind of early, so could I say Game of the Year favorites already out of the gate? I think there's some really good games that are out already this month. So let's kick it off.
Honestly,
let's kick it off with I think easily the most surprising game of the year. I fully expected a dumpster fire day before Gollum style trash heap of a game for Palworld. I did not think this would be good. I thought it was a hilarious story. The trailer, I was like, hey, the graphics look kind of cool. They're probably using Unreal Engine 5 or something. I had no idea. I just thought this looks really nice. But boys, as they're about for Pokemon and they have guns, this is going to be awful. This is going to be so bad. I can't wait to see how bad this is. And now it is has the second highest concurrent player peak on Steam in history of Steam since they've been tracking those numbers. Wow. Second highest.
And it's one of the fastest selling video games of all time.
It's insane. I saw someone saying the reason that Nintendo hasn't filed a lawsuit yet is because they really want this game to be on the Switch and Switch 2 so they can make some money off of it.
I laughed at that boldness where like the studio guy was like, yeah, we want it on PlayStation 5 and we want it on Switch. I was like, the ball's on this guy. Like,
yeah. Yeah. Of course, and we'll talk about what it's like to play when you play the game. It's nothing like Pokemon. I shouldn't say that. It's very little like Pokemon. The fact that you run around the world, there's creatures that you can capture in little spheres. Yeah. In my opinion,
and sometimes shinies pop up and they're rare.
In my opinion, that's kind of where the gameplay comparisons end. I absolutely see. We saw it from the first trailer. The design comparisons are impossible to ignore. Like it's like, all right, these look very familiar.
Some are almost identical.
Yes, yeah. So I totally get that, but I'm not a major Pokemon guy. I know Dan and Kyle, you guys have put a lot more time into Pokemon. I don't know. Do you think that that's actually a really big deal when you get into? Because Kyle, you've put a lot of time in this game. When you get into the game, does the design comparison stick with you, or
I just
are you
want to remind everybody that like Pokemon, if like look exactly like Dragon Quest monsters.
Yep.
So
or like they clearly borrowed inspiration from it.
Yeah, there's very. I mean, look up Dragon Quest and Pokemon. Like someone's already done the homework and they did side by side. Like they're like. Don't get me wrong. I think Palworld flies a little closer to the sun, you know. But like, but like, if you want to like go down that route or whatever, like, or that rabbit hole, when you make a monster out of a creature that exists, they're all gonna kind of like a pig monster is gonna look like a pig monster, a fox is gonna look like a fox. If it happens to both be on fire in all three games, you know, there's gonna be some comparisons. You know, it's a slippery slope. You know what I mean? Because I think everything takes inspiration off everything, and also the amount of like Pokemon mobile games that are out there. That are rip-off, you know, like that are absolutely the same, like kind of monsters and stuff like that. Like, where does the suing begin and where does it end? You know, so I'm interested to see where it goes because I think we've all been making the joke, me pretty loudly, going, "Boy, this game's gonna get sued," you know. So
I think we've all been thinking that for sure.
Yeah, I think we've all kind of said that out loud multiple times. So
the only legal
maybe that's still on the table too. You know?
The only legal steps that I'm aware of are the modder who actually made like inserted Ash and Pokemon into Palworld. That modder got told like that's not allowed. That's the only legal kind of step that I'm aware of that happened.
I
mean, and honestly, I mean, this game has been in development for some time.
Yeah.
So why are they just suddenly saying something now? It's probably because everyone's
it's successful,
right? Successful, as opposed to the other.
Everybody's talking about it.
If this was a day before thing where it was
a megaphone, you know,
if it was a day before Crash and Burn, developer closed the day after it released. If it was that kind of thing, no one would be talking about lawsuits. They'd be laughing like, "Dude, this is hilarious." Like, there's nothing.
It's also the other inspired, like we were mentioning, the other inspired Pokemon inspired games clearly just haven't had as much success as this is having too.
Sure.
So you know, there's that as well.
It's interesting that. I wouldn't expect Nintendo to do much unless there's some real clear copy and paste. Like some of it kind of looks like maybe it is, but I don't know. If you looked at Nintendo's eShop, they don't seem to have a problem with putting games up for sale that are obviously ripping off other things that exist. In some cases, their own stuff. Sure. Like just look through the eShop. Some of the games that are on there.
Isn't that like famously like Last of Us rip off like on the Switch?
Oh yeah,
I just it's
I forgot about that one.
It's a slippery slope, man. You know, if they want to make a action or something like that, but like they are the kings of action when it comes to this type of stuff. So
and I think
like,
they love suing.
They love suing.
Nintendo has so much money. Imagine the law firm they have on retainer, law firms on retainer at Nintendo that are digging into this. They're doing the research, and I just don't think they're finding anything, at least not initially, that is a clear IP breach of some kind where they're like, okay, I think it's like, man, they're really kind of ripping off some of our design styles, but I don't think there's anything that's such a blatant. Did they get our code? How is it exactly the same? I don't think it's quite. I could be wrong.
I have seen some stuff on Twitter, and this is the tricky thing about these situations and social media and the internet is like anybody can just make up anything. So you unfortunately have to take it with a grain of salt because you don't really know. But I did see like one for what was it, Meowth, or there's that one particular Meowth that's like brownish. And the eyes and the mouth were matching one of the PAL creatures, like pretty identical, but it was just the mouth and the eyes. But again, is that real? Did somebody make, like what I mean? Like, did somebody make it so, I don't know, alter it, tweak it or something?
I mean,
so
you know how many 16-bit Zelda ripoffs there have been that are indie game, like so many that are
any ones that are in that perspective usually.
Everything from the coins to the bosses to the sword you're using. I'm like, this is an absolute Zelda ripoff, and they're not saying anything, even if the game is good. So anyway, all that to say, this is a fascinating early release.
Are Metroidvania games gonna start getting sued by like Capcom? You know what I mean? Like sometimes you just gotta wait and see on these types of things. But now, I will say, don't ever underestimate Nintendo to like overreact on something. But it just depends on whether or not there's actual like legal grounds to stand on here. Which like is there? I don't know. I'm not a lawyer, but like I don't know. If we're looking at like historically people kind of using similarities in video games, like look no further into like the Apple like game store or the Android game store. Like you're gonna see tons and tons and tons of stuff there that are Pokemon adjacent, if not Pokemon copies. So
and even the title, even though it doesn't sound like Pokemon, something about the one word title Palworld, it's just a little similar. There's something about it that just feels similar across the board. So I do get it. But then once you start playing the game, let's talk about what it's like to play the game.
Sure,
when you first of all, before we get into the actual gameplay, the character creator is one of the goofiest things I've ever seen. Like I took some of those sliders of how big you can make the legs and midsection and arms and stuff all the way up and down. And if you hit randomize, like I was dying laughing.
Yeah, you could do Hulk legs and Bruce Banner body, Like,
I mean, it can literally be like your hips are out here and your torso's here. Like it can look so funny.
Yeah.
As soon as I saw it, I was like, this is a Jeff experience right here. He needs to create some characters.
Create the ugliest character.
Just that part, and it'll be my game of the year.
And that's it.
Yeah, there you go.
So the character creator is so wild because they limit you on some options, but then they give you the weirdest abilities to edit stuff. Whatever, it's fine. So you get into the game, run around with your little loincloth, kind of get some basics, and then you see your first creature. And
great tutorial, by the way. Very handholdy.
Yeah.
Very, very, very good. Yeah.
And I've only played on Xbox so far. I haven't played on PC. I did have 2 or 3 crashes on the Xbox.
Yeah.
Like I went up to start mining the first crystal thing. I was using my fist to mine, by the way, at the beginning. And so I'm punching this crystal and it crashes. So then I went back in the game and I went to try to capture my first monster. And as soon as the ball hit, it crashed. Like these little moments where I was like,
sure, yeah.
That's partially why I haven't spent a ton of time with it.
It's unstable on Xbox. Yeah, it's 2 versions behind in the PC version. So and those versions are like we're not talking patches. I'm saying these are like major updates. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So very unstable on Xbox, which is why I switched over to PC to start playing it.
Yeah, I had no clue until I was watching somebody streaming it and they mentioned it, and I was like, "Oh, okay," because they were playing on PC.
Like the skill tree is different, like the way that it unfolds. And stuff like everything's just a little bit different. Oh, and there's background noise in the PC version, where in the Xbox, like you stand next to a river and there's no sound at all.
There's
no ambient like wind. There's no like birds chirping. It's just like silence. So deafening.
If it were on PlayStation, you'd be able to hear that. We all know.
Right. If it were on PlayStation, we wouldn't have to deal with
the solid state drive.
It's the SSD.
Because of the SSD, of course, yeah.
Well,
something terrible.
It's almost like they took the paycheck from Xbox to put it on Game Pass, and they were like, "We put it on Game Pass. What do you want?"
Yeah. Well, and Game Pass, apparently they outed that like Game Pass has like insane certification stuff for
for updates,
for early access style games, and like the certification is like it's hoops to just jump through. Yeah. And like they just couldn't get like the version that they're at right now through certification quick enough.
That's
and they're
why
still
Valheim has taken a while to get to Xbox compared to.
It's very similar to Valheim. Yeah.
That makes sense.
So there's that as well. But it's ways I haven't had a single crash or hiccup or anything like that on PC. On PC.
And you're playing Game Pass on PC or Steam.
Steam. Yeah.
Steam. Okay. So I just wanted to like my only experience with it so far, and then Kyle, I want to hear like some of your thoughts on the actual experience out in the game world, progressing and all that stuff. But just, I thought it was so funny because not only is everything very kind of cute looking, it's a very cutesy Pokemon looking game, Dragon Quest Monsters looking game. And so you walk up to these first little creatures that are so friendly, these little sheep, these little chickens, everything's nice to you. And it's like, go ahead and attack one.
Yeah, beat them to death.
I'm like,
go ahead.
And all I have is a torch, so I light it on fire as I'm hitting it, and it's running around screaming.
Savage.
And my kids are watching too. They're going like, "Dad, what are you doing?" And I'm like, "I don't know. I'm sorry."
Tim is just cackling like.
So not only does it die, but its body doesn't go away, and its little dead body's rolling around on the level.
Yeah, it's just
and I'm like, so then immediately I just like, well, let's play some FIFA. So I start kicking the body around with the character. Like, dude, it's so wild. But anyway, I only got to the part where you start building your first base. I captured I think 3 little monsters. I didn't get super far. On my 3rd crash, I was like, I'll come back to it, or maybe try it on PC, and that was my experience with it so far. So, but Kyle, you played a lot more. Dan, have you played any of it?
I played like 20-30 minutes of it on Xbox.
Like me, basically.
This is such a stream game too, dude. Like if you're ever, you don't need any, but like, boy, people are really getting the numbers, on this one, just because it's just dumb. It's a really stupid thing to watch, I'm really enjoying the game a lot. Like survival games are always something I want to get into, but like just they're either don't make sense to me or they feel like they'd be funner with like more people or whatever. But this one's really handholdy and like really teaches you, like it teaches you every little thing. It's like, okay, now you're gonna make a bed, and I'm like, all right, and like you have objectives that you need to do, and it's very, very, very to the point. So like by the time you're like building like your base or whatever, like you really know what you're doing. And as you're catching these, let me just call them Pokemon because that's what they are. Like you can throw them at like crafting stations or gardening or whatever to like they're your slaves. Sorry to say, like that's what they are. They're your little workers. Yeah. So like you're putting them to work and everything like that. You can even build like a little like tower box that you can like bark orders at. So it's I don't know who this game is for. You're enslaving like monsters. You're like butchering their bodies to get meat and stuff like that. You're feeding that meat to Pokemon that are just like that or made out of that meat. It's really sadistic and weird, and I don't know what like
was
6-year-old
this game developed in North Korea? Is this where
I don't know, man. It's
a Japanese.
It's so cute, but like what you're doing is kind of like deplorable in this game,
So wild.
But everything's very cutesy though.
It is a Japanese developer.
It is, yeah. What's cool about it is that like all the grindy kind of like not fun stuff that like no one likes to do, your Pokemon are doing it while you're off exploring and capturing more Pokemon, because that's what they are. They're Pokemon. Anyways, when we'll talk about other static worlds and stuff like that as we kind of go through the games tonight, but this game is a static world, so like I really feel like it makes exploring mean something. Whereas like your Minecrafts and other games that are like non-persistent and procedural and stuff like that, I don't know, like sometimes it's cool to like run across something, but like there's something about a handcrafted nook. You're like, I was meant to find this, and there is a static thing here for me to get, or whatever, a collectible or a cave to go into, which is a dungeon or an instance or whatever, a boss battle, a specialty monster, whatever, a cool piece of rare item or whatever, a recipe. It doesn't really matter. Or hey, I ran into a settlement here with like actual NPCs and stuff like that I can trade with and everything. It's purposeful, and I prefer that to procedural.
I hear you.
Yeah. So yeah, it's really fun to explore in this game. You have a Breath of the Wild glider because of course you do. You Breath of the Wild climb because of course you do.
Breath of the Wild climb.
Yeah, these are all things that are in the. You have a stamina meter that dictates how far you can glide and how high you can climb and stuff like that.
Just wait until you see the stamina bar for Circle for Enshrouded. They'll be like, "This is Zelda."
You're like, "Oh, hi, Zelda."
Yeah. Oh, because it's multiple circles. Yeah,
it does multiple circles.
It is good catch on that one, man.
Yep.
But yeah, it's been really fun, and I really enjoy the game. I've played it multiplayer with a couple of people. Like that was a lot of fun. I've had you get raids, like your base gets raided, so I had to like erect like a fence around my whole entire thing or a high wall around my whole entire base.
That's fun.
And like. They'll blow up your wall. They'll catch it on fire. The fire will spread. I've had my whole base like burned to the ground already.
Is it just creatures you're fighting against, or is it
people? There's people with guns, man. Yeah, they're running up on you and shooting and stuff like that. Yeah. I haven't unlocked guns yet because they're pretty far down like the skill tree. But I'm like that's the next thing I'm unlocking is a musket. So I'm exiting my bow and arrow and spear era. And entering in my bronze era, from the Stone Age to the Bronze Age.
Empires also.
That's how I'm explaining it at least. Yeah. So yeah, I'm about to have muskets, and I've got a little green monkey who's got an AK-47. I've got a little blue penguin with like a rocket launcher. Like I got like a posse of Pokemon with guns, dude.
Squirrel
it's delivering on the promise of Pokemon with guns. Like it is so fascinating that they figured out a way to like get this specific vibe of video game and just like I'm gonna blend all these like different things like Breath of the Wild and Pokemon and Valheim style survival and yada yada and Ark style like taming monsters and stuff like that and just blend it all together and make what is I guess like a greatest hits version of survival games. And I think that's why everyone's liking it, because like everything you like about a survival game, or maybe a specific thing you do like, worked its way into this game. Maybe it's a big function or a small function, you know what I mean? And that's, and your enjoyment's going to vary depending on how big or small that, function is that you love. But I'm really enjoying it. I'm at a tower where I'm going to fight a boss, and I've been putting that off. I was supposed to do it at level 12. I'm like level 24 now, so I'm going to totally steamroll this boss. But and that boss is an Electabuzz, and they didn't do anything to change what
it's an Electabuzz.
Like. Oh my god, it looks
sure.
it is an Electabuzz. Like they didn't change anything. And the statue I have in my base to upgrade like my catching abilities is just a Lucario. They put a dress on him. Like that's it, like it's. So there are times where I'm just like, dang man, this Firefox is just a Vulpix, man. Like they just
Dude,
they didn't do
keep
anything
picturing
to change
actual
this.
Pokemon, and they just have like a fake mustache on.
Yeah,
like, it's not the same.
And like the googly glasses,
the
got
nose and glasses.
Glasses.
I'm enjoying it way more than I probably should be. But again, when I look at how many people are playing it, I'm like, oh no, I'm just a lemming. We're all, everyone's enjoying this game right now, apparently.
Yeah.
I mean, who the people who are playing
every video
it,
gamer.
So.
Yep.
Yeah.
To put obviously we can get into or we could, we're not going to get into the rabbit hole. I guess we sort of did about the AI stuff and the art and the thievery and all that. But I think there is something to take away from this that's positive, and it is that like Pokemon Violet and Scarlet, like there were some redeeming qualities about it, but like for a company and Nintendo and all of them that have the obscene amount of money that they have, the fact that this is the highest grossing property literally in the world, the amount of money that they have, the quality that it came out at, not even just the frame rate stuff, but that is a big factor, of course, but just other things too. It was unacceptable, really, for just what they could do with that, So they need to learn from their mistakes, but also the fact that something like this exists, they can kind of be like, all right, we need to really freshen up what we're doing here, because people think Pokemon has been stale for a long time.
When I was just to build off of Pokemon being stale for a long time, this is the most successful and beloved Pokemon-esque thing since Pokemon Go.
Right.
There's been a lot of mainline games that have come out since Pokemon Go, and they've all not been received in the way that Pokemon used to be received. So you're talking about a mobile game, ran by a mobile company with that sees that much success, and then you get this no-name studio who kind of takes the a vibe of Pokemon, brings it into their flavor of video game, and sees this huge success. Nintendo, it's your move to do something big and not sue somebody. Make a better video game.
Yeah, and the studio, Kyle, went from, I think when I was streaming the other day, somebody Googled it or whatever. It was like a super small, and they're still small. It was like 4 people, I think, when it started, and it's at it's like 51, I think, people now. So it's like literally 51 people made this, and look at how successful it is.
And I wish more people had played the PC version, because obviously when you play the Xbox version, you're just not going to agree with the statement, but it is very, 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 it runs very well. You know what I mean? And it's kind of insane for a game in early access that it's so stable, and that it's so well thought out, and it's so content rich. And this is only 66% of the final product, So this is barely and this is more than a full game. This is more than a full game already. And there's gonna be twice as much here, here pretty soon. So and good for them, man. I hope they don't get sued, And if they do get sued, I hope it's not so bad they close down. I hope they get sued and they just have to change some assets around, and that's it,
I think it would have happened by now, because we know how fast Nintendo works. And like example, Alana Pierce did her Zelda reaction or review on Twitch, and they were they took it down immediately. They said you can't publish it. It was within 30 minutes.
Yeah. We'll look at the modder too, who just got taken down. He got taken down immediately. This would have been taken down already if it were I agree, Jeff. I totally agree.
I think they're maybe they're writing them dirty notes at the very least.
You guys are on thin ice.
Dirty makes it sound like sexting, but
the next 50 Pokemon they'll release better be different.
It's not like
Nintendo and Game Freak.
It's not like some of the waves of Pokemon have always been the most original things I've ever seen.
I remember catching a Pokemon that was literally just a pile of trash.
Garbodor. Yes.
Yeah. And another one that was literally just lamp.
That's a metaphor.
Lamp. I saw one that was
candle.
There was candle.
You know, so
ice cream cone.
Ice cream cone. Yeah, so I don't know.
Oh, dude. Keys. There's also the keys one.
They're creatively bankrupt. Those freaking monsters, man. Just let them have this game.
They're like, whatever, it's gonna sell. Just
that's their attitude, you know.
I really do think that they've had to look exactly at like what that game is compared to theirs, and I still don't think they have a case, and like they're not going to waste time being the bad guys in court and losing a case as well. Like
I don't know. They love to sue. That's the problem. That's I think
it's so funny.
They love to sue, but it's like there's something that they could gain from this, and that's some like freaking eye-opening like epiphany of like, like we actually do need to like not release Pokemon every year, because that's part of the problem too.
Yeah.
They want to release them as quickly as possible. It's like, guys,
sometimes two a year, and I'm not talking 2 versions, like 2 different games a year.
Yeah.
Also, Nintendo.
Still waiting for Call of Duty to learn that too.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll see. They just sold us DLC last year, so we'll see what they do this year.
Sure.
I was waiting for that.
It's gonna be a mobile app. It's gonna sell like hotcakes.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Palworld is a real thing. Go catch them all, pal.
Sure.
Go do it.
Go catch them all, pal.
Catch them all, pal.
So that one is, man, what a wacky game. I am going to try out on PC. We'll talk a little bit more about it in the headline section too. Another big game that came out this month. We referenced it in some of our Game of the Year debate episodes, but Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown is out, and a handful of us are playing through that one. And I got to be honest, like when it was first revealed, I know I was hyped because I do love a good Metroidvania game.
Right.
But there was something in the back of my mind that was like, don't expect too much. Like, it's Ubisoft.
It's not a real Prince of Persia game.
It's not a real Prince of Persia game. And listen, I've talked about how much I've loved Ubisoft over the last couple decades, but I just feel like their recent stuff, there's something a little stale, a little off about Ubisoft in recent memory. And I'm just like, I don't know. Let's see what happens. And of course, it arrives, and I was like, oh, this is amazing. It plays perfectly. It looks fantastic. This is an amazing game, and the reviews are reflecting that as much as well. And Jeff, I know you're playing it. A couple of us are, but I'm curious what you think about it so far, especially since have you played any Prince of Persia's before, whether it's Sands of Time or any of that stuff? Okay.
If I did, I don't remember any of it. I mean, maybe I did when Blockbuster was still a thing and I rented PS2 games, but that's such a long time ago.
It is.
I don't remember. Maybe I played a 360 game too, if there was one. But anyway, so I mean, this is my first kind of one, I guess, but it doesn't really matter, right? Does it? Because the story is not really connected to anything aside from actual mythology.
I don't even realize that it's gonna.
There's a costume there's a Warrior Within costume.
Okay,
pretty much.
That came with the pre-order, right? Because I equipped that. That looked really cool.
It's very cool.
But it's really cool how like when I Googled some of the locations they talked about, I'm like, oh, this is from real mythology. That's really awesome. Yeah. I love those type of details in these games. It's like you didn't need to do that to make a good game, but it just adds
a lot of the lore you can pause and read is also like pulled right from their mythology too. Like
yeah, that's so cool. They really didn't need to do that at all. But yeah, I stopped. I got to what I call the Squelchy area, the catacombs.
Yeah.
And that's about where I stopped. There's like a light that follows you around because it's so dark in those areas. So I think I would imagine, Tim, you might be further ahead than me then if you've been playing it too. Yeah. But that's still like 3 hours in or so, something like that. I don't know, maybe a little further.
I will say this real quick about that light. The light is like a little sprite that has a voice.
Yeah.
I don't know if they've updated. Maybe they've updated it by now, but that was a placeholder AI voice, and a lot of people who like watched different streams and stuff recognized it. They were like, "I've heard that voice on streams or whatever." Like, it's an AI generated voice. So anyway, there was a placeholder that they just, and they even put out a statement about it, like, "Hey,
they said they forgot to like upload a voice for it."
Yep.
So
yep. But I thought that was interesting because
they didn't mean to use AI, but they did or whatever. Yeah.
I didn't notice. I'll be honest. I just thought it was supposed to sound a little bit like a kind of, I don't know, almost robotic sounding little sprite voice talking to you. Just didn't have a lot of emotion. But I didn't.
Yeah, I thought it was supposed to be something like that too. I thought it was a stylistic thing and never would have been like.
It's AI. Yeah.
This is AI. It's AI, dude. AI.
It's AI, brother.
Yeah, I'm really enjoying it. Like the combat is like super. It's tricky. But it's even on easy, it's tricky, but it's like super smooth and like responsive, and that's what you want out of these type of games. Much like an Ori or whatever imitator you want to list, Dead Cells, whatever. Dead Cells is probably the most responsive, but it's definitely man, it just feels so good, especially when you get more abilities and you're starting to chain these things together and take down especially the bigger ones that like take way more than 2 attack chains to take them down. You know, I'm starting to combo things a little more interestingly. And use my bow and arrow more and stuff like that. Man, it's just that combat stuff is great. I think the part I love the most is the exploration for sure, though. That's what you really want out of a Metroidvania.
Yep.
And I think sounds like that's one of the best parts of Enshrouded too, is what I hear, is like the exploration is just tops. Palworld too, but I checked out of Palworld. I'm all the way checked out. So I will
say with the exploration, like it fully embraces its Metroidvania-ness.
It does, yeah.
And so Dan, I think you and I talked a lot of.
They have you take pictures, and you're like, oh, you don't have an ability to get to this area yet, so take a picture, and you'll go back to it on your map.
One of the coolest features in a Metroidvania game I've ever seen. So was it Dan that played Metroid Dread as well?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And we were talking a little bit about how like, it really leans into the Metroidiness of the Metroid games, where it's like you're gonna need to backtrack and check every corner, and it does a lot of that. This does have that, and it takes a little while for it to get to that point where you're like, okay, where do I have to go? And you kind of just check your map and you look for little shaded areas that you haven't uncovered yet, and you like that starts to happen, and then you have an option. Your map, and I picked the bear map version where like I either have to take pictures or just figure it out. I just wanted to see how I liked it, and so far I like it. But I like that they offer a more easy mode where it's like, hey, we can just mark everything on your map for you, basically, or like a lot of things on your map for you as you go.
Yeah, I chose that option, but there's still like a bunch of areas. Like I think the only time I got lost is when there's the part right before the Squelchy Catacombs area. You're chasing an old man.
Yeah.
And that's the part where I was like, okay, where do I? You just took me back to the elevator to go back up to where I came from. Where do I go? I don't understand what I'm supposed to do. Come on, game. Start getting a little mad. And then eventually you see traces of him on the, if you're on the right path, you see traces of him. Like you see him, he'll show up and be like, haha, and run away.
Also, when you enter an area, if you went the wrong direction, you won't hear him whistle. If you went the right way, you'll hear him do his little whistle thing.
That's right. Okay.
He makes like this little whistly noise. It's like it's just a very subtle hint.
I noticed that. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's really funny. But yeah, eventually I did find him, and then you unlock this new shadow ability that allows you to take down one of these creatures that's really freaking persistent if you don't have the ability.
Yeah. They look like something out of a Dark Souls game, like those things that are crawling with the shield.
You literally have to attack them in the taint, but you have to get behind them to do that.
But they'll kick you if you try too many times.
They do. You just have to. Yeah, you have to dodge.
You have to parry or dodge it.
Exactly. But discovering that was so cool. You just like as soon as you get that ability, you're able to go to all sorts of places.
So the part right before that, there's a big story turn, and I was like, all right, not only is this a really fun game to play, but like they've got me kind of hooked on what the heck is happening.
Now I'm like, who's the good guy here? What's going on? Yeah.
And there's multiple versions of people because there's time loops happening, and like it's interesting. Like I didn't expect this. I kind of thought it would be a fun surface level 7 or 8 out of 10 game, and like right now I'm playing it, I'm like I can't find many flaws.
I only had a glitchy one, but it doesn't really knock down the score much. It was during a boss fight during that moment you're talking about, and the guys I was playing as, like my character and the enemy, just started clipping and like standing and T-posing.
You mentioned that,
floating,
T-posing,
and like, and so like they were doing the full voice animation. The voice acting, did not stop. So that was on pace, but like the whole time I'm just looking at one part of the map, and they're like floating and moving around, and like, and then eventually it moves on to the next part of the story.
All right. So it happens.
But yeah, I wasn't well, this is the worst game ever. Then it was just like a funny thing that happened during one of the most crucial moments in the freaking game.
Yeah.
It's a nice bounce back though from, and I mean, I don't even remember at this point what's going on, if it's been canceled or not, but the remake of the first one.
Sands of Time.
Might as well just say it's canceled. Yeah.
It's just been indefinitely delayed.
Yeah. So
it was like on the verge of coming out, and they were like, nah.
Yeah,
so I don't feel like it. We don't really feel like it.
I think it just showed so poorly. I think the fan reaction was really bad.
It didn't look like a remake.
Well, that's a pretty beloved game, right? So I mean,
Sands of Time is still up there in my mind as like one of my favorite gaming experiences.
I think it was only a GameCube game for a little bit, and like that was like the game. You know,
it was
like
so
it was
fun, and the
so
things they did with
well-crafted.
time rewind and stuff was very clever.
No, we hadn't really quite seen platforming like that, with the wall running and grabbing onto like almost every ledge. Like the amount of like verticality
parkour style
that
stuff
we got from that, like, is why stuff like Uncharted exists. You know what I mean? So it's just like it's a very pioneer type of game, and even the combat was like switching to a target was easy. So getting surrounded, like you were still really in control of the battlefield and stuff like that. Like that game is so good.
With some instant dagger kills if you did it at the right timing and stuff like that. Like so cool. And like I played all 3 of those games, and I understand that they got a little bit like Puddle of Mud metal style with like I get it.
Mud.
Was it Puddle of Mud or Stain?
No, it was Godsmack. It was Godsmack. In the second one. In the second one, right?
Yeah, it was Godsmack.
Right. Stand alone.
Yeah. So like I understand that it dated itself for exactly when it came out. You're like, oh, that sounds like a 2004 game. You're like, that's exactly when it came out.
Yeah, very edgy for the sake of being edgy. Whereas like Sands of Time was still kind of like fantastical and fun, you know. So I liked it too. I like 2 and 3.
Sands of Time felt like a period piece kind of game, and this is capturing that vibe of like I feel like I'm being transported back in time to when these things could have really happened in history. The other ones felt a little bit more Assassin's Creed like, in my opinion, where it was like, it's set back then, but everything you feel modern. There's rock and roll happening. Your guy's kind of got an edgy attitude to him. I don't know. They're still super fun. The Warrior Within.
This is not the prince you used to know. You know,
well, there was a throne one too, right? The 2 thrones or whatever. That was a good one too.
Where he had like the dark version of himself or whatever. Yeah, I forget.
And then the standalone. The standalone, I want to say it was like a 2012 game, or
it was the 360 one. Yeah,
that was a lot of fun too. So like, I've been a fan of the Prince of Persia stuff. I even played the old computer PC games where it was side scrolling and you hit right once to kind of step one little block. It's hard to describe unless you've played it.
Kind of like Pitfall, or in terms of its control.
Exactly, a little more platformy compared to action platform. But so yeah, I've loved the series for a while, and this one is really crushing it. I just beat. I'm a few bosses in. I just beat a really tough boss. I am playing on normal, and it gets very difficult on normal, but I like it. It's a challenge that I enjoy. It's not like I'm not getting frustrated. It's more like, yeah, man, they're demanding that you use all your abilities. Like there's a couple times the boss comes charging across the screen, and it took me. I think I died twice throughout the fight, and I was like, what? Oh, I have a teleport move. Why am I not like? So then I started crystallizing myself with that teleport move, and then all of a sudden, like that part of the fight at least became a little bit more doable. And so like, I don't know, they want you to use the abilities they've given you, which I think is awesome. So I'm really liking it. Yeah.
I was watching right before it came out on Twitter. I was scrolling through and I saw like a clip, what looked like maybe like you having quite a few of the abilities, like, you know, being a decent amount into the game. And like the second, like a few seconds in, I was like, oh, this is side scrolling Devil May Cry. Like,
there's a lot of launching people into the air and jumping up with them and continuing
juggling. You can do some juggling. Like there's definitely
and
like
slamming them back down.
Yeah. So like that to me is really cool.
And then arrowing from the air.
Yeah.
It feels good, man. Yeah. Which is instead of the guns. Yeah, good point. Yeah. It feels good. The combat feels great in this game. Sliding underneath someone's attack or parrying or anything like that, all pretty easy to pull off. But it's just about how you utilize it whenever you're being surrounded or whatever boss that you're fighting. And that first boss, or not the first boss, but the first official boss, which is like the monster thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Which is like a real, hard. By the way, that's like a real thing apparently in mythology. I don't.
Yeah, hard, but not like, like it was never like, it was always just right in reach. And like, that's the kind of like difficulty I like.
But good patterns, like good, understandable, but cool looking patterns.
Mega Man like style patterns where like once it's embedded in your head, you're like, I got this, man. It's a dance. It's a dance. I'm just reacting to what I'm seeing.
Exactly.
It seemed obtainable, and I like that. Castlevania is like this too, They're all like this, where the boss fights are hard, but they're like, it's achievable.
One of the things I like about the progression of this game is the way that you'll figure out a new move, and you realize, oh, now I can beat these enemies so easily. This is going to be cakewalk. And then you get introduced to a new common enemy that now has a shield, or they won't let you slide underneath them, or whatever the thing is, right? There's some kind of, they made an adjustment, or maybe you can slide underneath this guy, but he's got an axe, and when he swings at you, he's actually going to also hit it behind him So you're going to have to figure out, maybe I have to dodge away for this guy or something. So
yeah.
they start to introduce more and more layers of, hey, you can't just coast once you think you figured out, the rhythm of the game. And I like that. It's like making me use all my abilities and special moves. And it's got the very RPG light stuff where you can upgrade things. You can use your currency to buy new amulets to equip. You can get more amulet slots, so you can have those things equipped. You can increase the power of your blades and your bow and all that. So it's really, really good. And Jeff mentioned this earlier. They have one of my favorite features. I want to make sure we highlight this too. It's this, you get these little view charms. I forget what they're called. But you can unlock more throughout the game. But essentially on your map, you can see the little eyeball. So if you're playing the game, you hit down on the control pad, it'll take a picture, not an actual picture on your system, but it'll take a picture in the game. And then you look on your map, and wherever you hit that button, there's a little eyeball, and you hover over that, and it'll show you an image of what that area looks like. So on your map, you might see like, why did I not continue? Like the map just stops here. Could I keep going? If you took a picture of it, you can see, oh, that's because it has a weird yellow door I can't open yet, or whatever. Like
it's also easy to forget, by the way, in terms of visualizing what the map is in front of you, that using the right stick can help you look up. It's easy to forget when you're like, okay, all I have is what's in front of me, and then as soon as I use the right joystick, I'm like, I can actually look over there to see if that's an entryway or not.
Yep.
So
it's been handy. I've used it a couple different times because there's some dashing type stuff you don't have right at the beginning, and so I took a picture of a place or two that I was like, I feel like I can get up there, but I can't right now. So I took a picture on the map and then looked at it later. I was like, oh yeah, I've got that move now. I'm gonna go back and try that. So
that's cool.
It's a really handy feature. I feel like a lot of these style of games should.
Well, because they get so large. Like, I mean, Dread was insane, dude. The map is like unbelievable. Like, it's like, where am I supposed to go?
I think this one might be close to the equivalent. It's a big map. Wow. There's a lot of areas to go to, and the visuals are great. The music's fantastic. Like the production quality is very high. I think the voice acting is good. It's just they did a really good job.
Awesome. Absolutely.
Yeah.
If you want to make a 3D game down the road that just looks like this cartoon style, I'm in, man. You don't need to have another photorealistic like killy game like Assassin's Creed, because Assassin's Creed and Prince of Persia already share a lot of DNA together.
Right. That's racist to suggest that, but yes.
Separating. Well, see, when the assassins, when they pillaged and raped the lands. Okay, anyways. I just feel like to separate them further, like you could continue this style of game look. And man, looking at this, like and like really with more money and time put into it, but 3D, like that would be a really cool style. I think. This cartoony style.
I agree.
Well, I'm wondering though, what was that other Ubisoft cartoonish Assassin's Creed game? Phoenix something.
Oh, Immortals, Phoenix Rising.
Or Immortals, yeah.
They canceled the sequel for that one recently.
Did that? Yeah, because I mean, and that's like, I feel like that's almost like kind of like what Kyle's saying, like something of that style.
Mm-hmm. It took me a second to think.
That game is so fun.
Very fun game. Yeah.
And boy, the description of what the sequel is going to be makes me so sad, because I was like, that sounds so good.
It's like hearing about that Darth Maul game that was being made, and it was like 90% done, and you started seeing footage of it, and you're like, why did they do this to me? Don't ever tell us about this stuff.
Don't tell me that.
Or Battlefront 3, Star Wars Battlefront 3. They're like, that game is 99% done. Here's a whole bunch of footage. Just stop.
Go into space.
I don't want to see it ever.
Don't talk about it. Yeah, so that game is great. Really love it. I'm going to finish that one. I'm about 10, 11 hours into it, so I think I'm getting towards the end.
You're getting close, it's like a 13 or 12-hour game or something,
Well, I've been doing like all the side stuff. I've gone back a lot. I've gone back on the map a ton to like, and I've unlocked a whole bunch of new outfits, and I've got way too much health. I have like 9 bars.
Gotta collect them all, pal.
I've got...
Okay, it's actually more like 20 hours, Yeah.
So it's a lengthy game, but man, I'm not like, boy, when is this done? Like sometimes I'm playing a game, even if I like it, I want it to wrap up. I'm not feeling that with this game. Like I'm totally fine in taking my time with it. So really liking that one. Hey, there's another early game of the year contender out this month already. Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth has arrived. Your Nude Beach Simulator, I think is the name of it. Yeah. Just kidding. This game is getting amazing reviews, and at least two of you, definitely Kyle, and I think Jeff's playing a little bit of it. I know I haven't, and Dan, I don't think you've played this one yet.
I can neither confirm nor deny that I've been naked on beaches.
That's fair.
Jeffrey, be honest. Be honest.
But I am looking forward to it because I have watched some of the overview stuff of it, and I'm like, "Oof, this sounds like the most Tim version of these games. I might need to play this one more than I played previous ones." So we'll see. But tell me what you guys think about Like a Dragon: Infinite Wealth so far.
It's really good. That's it. That's all I have to say.
Okay, cool. Let's move on.
It's okay.
Next?
It's okay. I just got to Hawaii, so the game is literally just starting for me. Yeah.
Yep.
And honestly, I looked up the timestamps of people's playthroughs, and Chapter 1 is the longest. Like it was really? 4.5 hours until I got to Hawaii. And,
now that you mention it, like Chapter 2 wrapped up pretty quick. Cause I'm still on Chapter 3.
The rest are like 2 to 3 hours usually. Yeah.
I'm like 12 or 13 hours in. I'm like still on Chapter 3, but like that's because of me. Like I'm stopping and being like,
you love the side quest stuff too. Yeah.
I spent like a bunch of time just like there's a crazy taxi style mini game where you're like delivering food. Yeah, it's the same thing. Like you're delivering food, but you're doing like cool tricks along the way.
Oh, that's funny. Okay. Yeah.
And like you're like on a bike, like delivering food or whatever. It's really fun and stupid. So of course I'm like, well, let me try and get the high score on this. And there's another thing, you're gonna love this, guys. But there's a Pokemon Snap mini game in this game. Where there's these like sickos, all right, these degenerates who get naked, and they pop up like you get on a monorail and like you get your photo out and you have to take a picture of all the sickos, and they're all doing like degenerate things or whatever, and like there's multiple different levels of doing that all over the city.
Oh my
this
God.
is just a side thing, you know what I mean? Like you never have to do this or whatever.
Is there by the way, is it like if you collect 30, then you get fancy
you accumulate points while doing that, and then you can trade in those points for purchasable items and stuff like that.
Gear and stuff.
Yeah,
okay,
gear
cool.
and stuff
That's
like
awesome.
that. Yeah.
Oh
everything feeds into something. You're constantly building towards something.
It's so funny because the way they introduce that is like literally you're on the way out the door to Hawaii, and you catch a pervert that flashes you.
Oh, that's so good. Yeah. So that's
and then
that's
somebody creeps up behind you.
So the Sickos so the Sickos is a photograph game. You're talking about Sujimon. Yes. Which is their Pokemon game in this game, where you're going around and you're like taking like you're capturing weirdos to fight other weirdos in this grand tournament that's happening in Hawaii. And the first one that you capture is like this guy who's like flashing you, and you're filling out a dex, if you will, of all the sickos. But there's also like, once you get to Hawaii, there's like an app that allows you to make friends with people, so you can just walk up to people, give them a shaka bra. And like you become friends, and you'll see them around town, and like you're building a friendship with like cats and dogs and people and kids, and they all have like a quick little thing they want you to do.
Oh, man,
this is not the main game. I haven't even talked about the main game yet.
Yeah.
These are all the side stuff, You can swim out into the ocean and like pick up trash and then turn that trash in for like points and stuff like that. You could walk into any arcade and play a myriad of arcade games. You get a Vespa, and like there's stuff to do on that Vespa and stuff too. Like it's insane how much content there is in this game.
I think that their round table for brainstorming ideas must be like the 70s show thing when they're all getting high in the basement and the camera just swings to the next person. I think that's how they throw out their ideas. What if we capture
and there's
weirdos like Pokemon, and we capture them and they make them fight each other? Like, that's great.
And there's no no's. They're like, that's going in.
We're
making it. We said no to nut. We spared no expense. Insane. The characters have been really good so far. Going to Hawaii means that Ichiban is leaving kind of like his cool cast of characters behind from the last game.
Right.
But like immediately you start meeting some really cool people, in Hawaii, including fan favorite Kiru. So it's been a lot of fun, man. I'm really excited to get into the bones of the game. I've come across some classic 45-minute cutscenes that are just dumping like real like emotional like stuff, which is so funny because I just got done taking pictures of streakers, and now it's like. Oh my God, the Barracuda game just murdered this hobo, brutally murdered this hobo, and like, we're gonna put a stop to these idiots, and like it's just high charged emotion and stuff like that. And I'm just like, boy, the whiplash effect of emotions that this game puts you through is a jungle gym of weirdness, man.
What style of combat does this one have? Because last one was turn-based.
It's turn-based, but like you have a circumference that each character can move in. So like it feels kind of like you're moving your character into position and, you know, lining up characters. So like if I knock this guy into somebody else, it'll knock him over too. So that kind of makes it feel like, what was that Marvel game that came out? Like Black Sun or Dark Sun, whatever that game was. Midnight Suns, yeah. So like you're knocking them into each other or knocking them into friends so they can like do a follow-up attack or whatever. Your Persona style increasing bonds with your team members. Whenever you increase your bond, you can do team-up moves, you know. There's just a lot of cool stuff, man. You know, like I did karaoke with my bros earlier and our bond got better and now I can do team-up moves, so that's pretty fun. And the team moves are ridiculous. And speaking of ridiculous, like, you know, they lean more into Ichiban being kind of like a crazy person who like sees the world as this like hyper fantastical thing as he's fighting and stuff like that. And they just lean all the way into it. And the amount of times like they'll pull back out of his like psyche and then like, you'll see how everybody around him is like reacting is just super hilarious to me. So like he'll be like, yeah, you know, and there'll be like a big hurricane behind him and all this like stupid stuff. And he's like, I'm going to do it. And everyone's like around him like, what's going on with this guy? You know?
So he's seeing the world as an RPG and everyone else is
seeing the world as an RPG. Yeah. And even his like teammates are just like, this seems really psychotic, but as long as it doesn't go further than this, I think I'm okay with it. You know, like it's just so funny how they just point it out constantly, you know?
Sure.
It's just fun, man. This game is awesome. 14 or 12, 13 hours in, you know, I don't even feel like I'm scratching the surface of this game yet. And like everywhere I look, there's a distraction or something to do and something ridiculous or something funny. And then you just barrel through the story more and you get a little more of that, like that punch stuff. But also they have my favorite mechanic in a turn-based game, and that's auto fight. So if I don't even want to deal with all this grinding. Boom, R2. You can choose, hey, don't do special moves, do special moves, heal, don't heal, whatever, you know, and you just send them in, and like, man, it's awesome. Like, I just love that mechanic so much. Every RPG that's turn-based should have it, period. Like, no more not having it in games, like, at this point, so.
That's awesome.
Yeah, good stuff, man. I'm excited to talk about this game every single week for the next, 6 years or whatever.
Because it's gonna be a while. Yeah. Well, I mean, because you do all the side stuff, and on these type of games that I know are that dense, I do the introductory, here's what this side optional quest is if you want to do it. And then I go, cool. And then I go back to the main quest. You know what I mean?
Like, a little taste tester of everything.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I taste test everything once, and then I go, let's go do something.
Appetizer.
Yeah, that was good.
You got to capture all the flashers.
I'm ready for my steak. I'm ready for my steak now, though. You know?
Oh my gosh.
But I got to go, like, stop this guy's cancer real quick. Is that cool with you? Or
No. More flashers, more pictures of flashers. Let's do that.
Yeah, it's super good. And I haven't even gotten to like the island building stuff yet. That's not until chapter 6, you know. But you're building up towards this like Animal Crossing style. I'm building a vacation island. It's your main source of income. On that island, that's where you can train
I gotta play this game.
There's so many of these, and like honestly, the most enticing thing for me is Hawaii, because like Hawaii is fantastic. I love Hawaii.
And I talked about this when I played the demo not too long ago, but like it being in Hawaii does change everything. It literally changes everything. It feels like I'm playing a different game. And I know that sounds silly, like you know, you're still playing a sequel to a 9 entry series or whatever. You're right, but taking something from like the neon drenched like city of Tokyo or even like the seaside towns of Okinawa and stuff like that, you know, and just taking it out of that environment and putting it somewhere where you're not getting bento boxes, you're getting burgers, you know what I mean? You're not getting, you're not getting Japanese drinks, you're getting dumb American sodas, you know, like you're just like everything's just different in the right way. And it being sunny and tropical, and like the streets not being suffocatingly like small and narrow, and it just everything feels different. It's the injection of freshness that we needed. And you know what? The other thing is that this game doesn't go out of its way, or doesn't hold its punches when it comes to like making Americans look stupid, or like our whole culture look stupid. And like and not in mean-spirited ways. Just like the very first thing he does is like, a gun gets pulled on him. He's like, boy, I've heard about Americans and their cowboy quick to shoot ways, you know, like it's just There's some commentary. There's some commentary there, not on the levels of GTA, obviously, but like there's just some fun stuff that they're poking fun of, you know.
Also interesting in Hawaii, you know, too, because I feel like Hawaii is not so much like that, but like they're just kind of leaning into it anyways, like just because whatever.
Yeah, we're in America. There's
it is part of America.
And there is a class where like I haven't unlocked it yet, but you unlock it. It's a cowboy class, and he dual wields guns and stuff like that. So
Hawaii.
I haven't gotten to any of the classes yet. I hear that's where like all the fun is, like surfer classes and like samurai classes. There's just a lot of really cool stuff that you get from taking tour guides. You go on a tour guide. Ichiban gets like inspired, and he's like, I think I know how to make a new class out of this experience, and he can share that with his teammates and stuff like that. So ridiculous, man. I'm so pumped to play it. I still haven't even met my whole like teammates yet. All my teammates that are going to be there.
Yeah, there's a whole different bunch of people in Hawaii. Yeah.
It's just me and a new guy in Kiru running around, and I'm just I'm loving every bit of it. It's just what a treat to get something like this in January. You know,
my
gosh. Just so crazy.
Yeah, and right before a quiet February too. Nothing coming out.
I know. Yeah. Absolutely nothing.
Well, nothing coming out the first day of February for us to worry about. At least that's for sure. We can let go of Suicide Squad.
I will say normally like turn-based stuff is kind of hard to. I guess I shouldn't say I'm biased against it anymore, considering some of my favorite games from last year. But
New Year, new Jeff. Okay.
New Year, new Jeff.
Behind us.
Yeah. But I still, there's a part of me that's still kind of like, this is gonna take some convincing. But this one is like right away I got into the flow of it. Nice. I'm pretty efficient at it. The game goes as fast as you want it to go in the combat. So like if you want to be like, maybe I should spend an item here. Be more calculated. Fine. I'm just a button masher.
Nothing
I go,
my
like, turn.
Timing you. Like maybe they might move out of the way, you know? Like the other bad guys are kind of like shuffling and moving.
Right.
But like the worst things that happens is one moves out of the way of like a chain attack or something. But like you have all the time in the world to make a decision.
I love the organic double team moves where if you're near one of your buddies, he'll just come back in and slam one of the other guys. And I'm beating people up with like a massage baton, so that's fun too.
Yeah. And he means a pleasure massage baton.
I get it.
Yeah.
Right. I get it.
My cop friend, and before I left for Hawaii, he had a sausage that he was just beating people with.
Yeah.
You know, so
you literally went into an adult store shop and just bought sex toys for your
which is what you do in the first game as well. Like there's a lot of things where it's like
we're so fun.
We're on an adventure again. Let's go do dumb stuff. You know, it's I just love it so much. Yeah, it's so goofy.
There's nothing like it. There's literally nothing like these games.
There's nothing like this in the whole industry. There just isn't. Like this is the only place you can get this, you know.
They've cornered the market on stuff you don't know how to describe. It's great.
Yeah.
It's also pretty incredible how quickly they keep releasing new entries and remakes for these games. It's crazy. Like they must just be crunching like mad over there. I'm just gonna assume.
Big time. Yeah. And good for them. We love
Japanese work culture is totally better than ours.
Crunch it up, dudes.
They don't crunch over there.
They do. They just don't talk about it. They just don't whine about it. You know what I mean? Like they crunch.
But they just put those like suicide nets outside of buildings.
They're
and
just like shut up about it.
Shut up about it. Yeah, it's kind of like the whole reason the Godzilla -1 got a CGI visual effects nomination at the Oscars, and everybody in the comments was like, everybody educated, I should say, on like the movie subreddits and stuff in the comments were like, they literally worked them to death. Like, no wonder the CG was so good.
Let's at least give them a little
small budget
trophy. Let's at least give them a trophy for it.
Yeah.
They're no longer alive, but they got an Oscar.
That's
they'll go to their families.
Yeah. To one of the families. There's only one. Sorry.
Right. Everyone else will get a picture of it, though.
So rough. All right. Not the last new game, but the last like significant one that I'm aware of. And then there's a couple smaller games that are definitely worth kind of talking about a little bit. Well, there's Tekken 8. That's a major release. Tekken 8 is a huge release. I just don't think any of us are big Tekken gamers.
Meccan.
Yeah, I've played most of them through the stories. It's the longest concurrent story like ever, I think. Like it's however many years it's been going or whatever. Maybe besides Doctor Who, I guess. But like in video games, I think it's
so. You'll play it. You'll go through the
maybe I don't know.
Maybe
I hope someone buys it and I can go over there and play it at their house or something.
It visually looks fantastic.
They always do. They're always really huge showpieces. That's a sharp looking game. I hear this one's fantastic. I hear the story's fantastic. I hear the arcade mode where like you create an avatar that like you're a player in the real world,
like an actual arcade.
And it's like an arcade like to tournament type of story.
You
so
challenge
it's a different
other
type of story.
players' avatars to
love
playing.
it. Absolutely love it. You know, but
they know the roots, right? Tekken's roots is deeply set in the arcade scene, right?
Yeah.
And so
yeah,
I totally get that. So yeah, that's a major release, getting great reviews. So if you're a fighting game fan, obviously don't miss that one. But then Enshrouded is out. This is one that I've been excited about for a while. I played the demo in the fall. It had some Valheim vibes, and I say some because I knew right away when I played it, I was like, this isn't exactly like Valheim, but I do like, action RPG with some survival. It's not punishing. The demo made it really clear right away. It's not going to punish you. And Valheim, I think, had a great balance of, hey, it's not going to be super easy, but it's also like
back, but
relatively forgiving compared to some. You play some survival games and they'll kill you so fast.
Like the forest,
like if you don't get water or something. Like you have 5 minutes to find water. Like I don't know what the I guess would
probably be the hardcore one I'm thinking of.
Yeah. Or in some of those games, you need water, so you go drink water, and then you die of some infection immediately. You're like, okay,
right. Yeah, that was a puddle. You're like, what? Come on, man.
I don't want to do this. So anyway, which is realistic, but I don't want to do this. But anyway, Enshrouded it's set in a fantasy setting. It is not procedurally generated, like Kyle was talking about earlier, with how he enjoys exploration having a little more weight to it. And by weight, it's not. I love procedurally generated games. No Man's Sky,
I like Valheim too. It's procedurally generated.
So I love when they set up a good set of rules in a world and then let you kind of have a new version of it anytime you fire it up and you want a version of it, you absolutely can. That being said, what the limitations there can be a handcrafted guided experience where you're like, oh, this is like part of the story, or maybe this is something they really wanted you to see, or maybe a puzzle, because this has some environmental stuff you have to navigate through. So they needed to make it more handcrafted. So I do like that part of it, and it tells me there will come a point when I feel like I've explored enough and I'm done with this game, and boy, was that a good time. Some games that just keep procedurally generating everything, I'm like, this will never end. I'll never
Sure.
Yeah.
When am I going
to? There's always one more boss. Keep on going out there.
There's too many. So this has a feeling of like, all right, at least there's some. It's got a finite
end game here.
Yeah. But yeah, it's a third-person action RPG. It really leans much more heavily into combat compared to stuff like Valheim. I was describing it to Kyle, and this might not be a fair comparison because I don't want to make expectations way off, but I was reminded of Fable at times with some of the combat. The way I was diving around.
I felt that, yeah. And I would even say the world's kind of like Fable, where it's an open world, but design, like right? you're being taken on a tour,
Yeah.
Maybe that changes later. I haven't had to. You've obviously played a lot more of it than me, but like you're not on rails, but like you're kind of being guided towards what you need to go do next. Yeah. And when Fable kind of did that too, even though it was an open world game or open.
Oh, they definitely guide you. And as it goes on, yes, you start to see. Like you'll find a book or you'll talk to a character, and then all of a sudden a new little thing will pop up on your map, and you'll see on your map, it starts to take you in direction, and then those things start to pop up in the clouded area or the foggy area you haven't explored yet, and it goes every direction. Like, okay, I can kind of go any direction. I
love a good fog of war map. I'll tell you.
So it starts to definitely opens up. They do a good job with fast travel right away. At any point, you can fast travel back to your flame altar from any point in the map, as long as you're not in a shrouded space.
I like the checkpoints too, where it's like you got far enough where like your flame is here now, so if you die, this is where you're gonna
this is where you'll respawn. They do that by a lot of the tombs or dungeons or bosses.
Do you lose all your stuff when you die?
No.
Cool.
You'll lose some. It'll say like you'll lose some items, you come back to get it here, but not all of it. So
never your gear or anything like that.
I didn't lose gear. I think I just lost some key items that I wanted back, but I still had
like marks on the map where you died and everything. I haven't died yet, so that's what I'm asking. Okay, cool. Yeah, that's nice. Even Palworlds is like more hardcore than that, where it's like if you die, you just drop everything.
Yeah,
so
that's
now
too,
like without anything, I have to go back to my body and pick up.
You're sprinting back naked, trying to
grab it. Like I have 17 Pokemon chasing me. Like, oh my god,
with guns.
Yeah, with guns.
Yeah, and so they what I like about this too is it's got more of the RPG elements of like gear and upgrading and more weapon types, and like it starts out where you just kind of get an axe. You can get you can have a club as well.
I have a club and shield set up right now.
Yeah, you get a shield. Or a hatchet, I guess, was the first weapon I used for a little while there. And then eventually you rescue an NPC, but you don't really see him. He kind of just disappears from the pod that you rescue him from. You have to go back to your base, craft this new item called a summoning rod, and you use that, and you just decide where you want him to live on your base, and you plop him down, and you can always move him around.
Cool. Does he build his own little thing there, or do you do that?
Build around, yeah, you build whatever you want for him. So I just built like this little blacksmith area for the first guy. I built a little alchemist area for the second guy. There's not a ton. I think there's like 5 or 6. I think they're going to add more, but there's like 5 or 6 sort of assistant NPCs that can craft things for you.
See, that's the thing that was missing for me, and not that it minus points from Valheim whatsoever, because that game's amazing. But just the emptiness, you know what I mean?
Lonely.
Yeah.
It is lonely. Yeah,
absolutely.
So I like.
I would have loved something like this, because Valheim has a couple of NPCs, but they're very tricky to find, and they never move. They stay in that one spot. And part of me is like, oh. So I actually recently, as I was playing it, built a base near where one of these traders is, just because it's like, all right, this kind of feels a little bit more like we're part of the same group.
We're neighbors.
yeah. But anyway. So yeah, there's bow and arrows, and there's magic. And so I got into some of the magic casting. You get some wands. You can even get a staff that has ammo, essentially magic ammo that you have to keep track of, like arrows, and you can craft it and stuff. Ice and fire. And you can even get healing ammo. So if you're playing multiplayer, you can be a healer and kind of just sit there with your staff.
16 players, that's a lot for... That's huge, you know? Like, imagine 16 different weirdo bases all around this big world, you know?
Yep.
And I've seen people build... And same thing with Palworld, but more so in this one, like the castles people are building are completely insane. You know, like
I like the way
that
this
goes
game
for any
looks.
building game.
Yeah,
very cool.
The visuals are like, I'm really surprised. It looks really good. The engine they're using, and it does have DLSS support. So if you're like me and still have a very mid to low level PC, you activate DLSS and you can crank it up, and it looks great.
It is unsupported on Steam Deck, and I played it flawlessly with no stats, no stutters, no crashes, no nothing right off of my Steam Deck. So
it
already has really
slick. No sense.
So it's got full controller support.
Sense to me,
yeah, this and Palworld, like
amazing. And Palworld, both of these games, amazing controller support. Like it's absolutely out of control how far we've come in terms of like making a survival game feel like good on a controller. You know.
Yeah.
I mean, mouse and keyboard is always going to be the best for these games. Don't get me wrong, but like,
I don't think
if you're like a stubborn person like me, like I'm like, I will make sure this works on a controller.
I played Valheim the entire time since the beginning with the controller.
Valheim,
a controller,
with mouse and keyboard. Yeah, I played it.
Mouse to build, but you know.
Yeah, it wasn't even technically supported with controller for a little bit there, but then it was still usable, right? It's much better now, by the way. Valheim's controller support's way better now.
I bet.
But yeah, it launched with full controller support. So even though Valve is too busy with Palworld to take time to verify this one, I think it's fair to say like it's going to pretty quickly get a verification on Steam, because there's no like additional login or weird screens or extra things you have to do. You just jump in there and play.
I think that they built this game knowing like we're going to get a lot of people if we can have it running on Steam Deck, because like the way that it runs so seamlessly despite having any sort of support or anything like that. Like, I don't even think there's a section for it on Steam that says supported, unsupported, verified. It's just like blank, you know, like, I think that the dev knew that like, hey, a lot of people are playing things handheld now, or playing things like I'm playing it on a small little screen. I showed you guys in chat, like I'm playing it with a controller, small little screen. And like it runs so fantastically on that, and it looks great for the low powerage that a Steam Deck can put out. You know, it still looks great. I think the game looks
I've got it on 1440p and have all the settings up really high. I have DLSS on, and it typically gives me the 60 to 70 range FPS. Every once in a while, in some areas as things are loading in, it'll dip down into the 40s.
I saw some people who were streaming it day one. It was dipping into the 40s a bit when they were, especially playing together, like side by side. But like
that makes sense.
A couple patches have come out since then. It's a little more stable. I think it's still dipping, obviously, but like multiplayer is a little more stable.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking about two games that are like, you know, big survival early access games that are killing it right now in terms of just how stable it feels and how big and content rich they feel. So
Yep. And as you get to some of the towers and stuff, it's funny, some of the design of kind of these very smooth marble and metal style buildings that you'll explore. It actually reminds me a little bit of like in Jedi Survivor, when you're going to explore the old High Republic stuff and everything's kind of overgrown and shabby and yet still smooth and like clean looking. It has that vibe to it in some of these areas. Some of the design is really cool. And the Enshrouded feature is neat. It's basically like going underwater, and it gives you a timer, and there's different ways you can buff that skill and hold your breath longer to survive in the Enshrouded area a little more. So you can get all kinds of buffs. There's potions. You can you can permanently add to that skill by upgrading your flame altar, all that kind of stuff. You can kind of improve all that. And the way flame altars work, you can unlock the ability to build more of them. You start out being able to build 2. You plop 1 down, and then it gives you a area that you can build within, and nothing there that's within that area will reset. So if you dig a big hole in the ground within your flame altar radius, that hole will be there forever until your flame altar is gone or whatever. But anything you do outside of that, it respawns and resets really quickly, like within a in-game day, I think. Because and the reason at first I was like, I don't know, I kind of liked in Valheim I could go and like clear a forest, and it's always cleared unless I go back and I don't know, something about that I liked, like I was having an impact on the
permanence of that, yeah.
But then I thought about it, and I was like, well, this gives you essentially a very easy way to grind out some resources really quickly. Like there's a cluster of trees. I'm gonna put them right outside my building settlement, and I'll always have those trees to go and just grab
survival games have been around long enough now where all of us are like, just streamline that, like let's just give me my resources. Like we're still willing to grind for it, but I'm not willing to walk halfway across the map, to like chop a tree down,
Yeah, so there's been some cool places to go, some tombs where you fight spiders. The Shroud has all kinds of creepy zombie look. They kind of look like the frost zombies from Game of Thrones a little bit, as they're stumbling around and coming at you. Like some cool design. The first boss was pretty fun. And then there's these big kind of neon glowing trunks that are pulsating the Shroud out, and you just have to chop those down. And that gives you a key resource and stuff. It's good, man. And that map is huge. At first I heard that the map was how small it was compared to other games I've played. But now that I'm exploring it and seeing how meticulously it's designed, I'm like, yeah, no, I don't want a map any bigger than this. This is fine. This is huge. So I'm loving it. Highly recommend Enshrouded. I think it's only I'm loving it. $27 I think on sale, 30 full price normally. So good deal. Make sure you go grab it. There's a game out that I think I listed it as a Kyle game just because of the setting and the style of game called Sovereign Syndicate. It's got good reviews, like not great, but good reviews. But that one looks interesting if you're interested in that one. And then The Cub, which both Jeff and I and Kyle now, I think we've all purchased it. But I have put 0 minutes into the full game. I bought it.
Okay.
But there's
I haven't played it yet either.
Yeah. But I own it. I have it on the Switch. I'm ready to play it. I'm excited to play it. It's the people who made the golf game. What's it called? That
Golf History Club?
No, it's the one. It's the side-scrolling golf game.
Oh, Golf Story? Something story? Is it story in there?
What's that called? Help me out.
This is really tough to figure out.
It's impossible to find out, so it's impossible.
Google's not working fast enough, guys. Okay. Demagogue.
Curse to Golf.
Oh, okay.
Pretty sure.
Oh, that was no. They did Golf Club Nostalgia, which is different. Same art style though.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I love the art style so much. It looks like very hand drawn and stuff like that. But it is a straightforward platformer in the way that I would say that Planet of Lana is, but it's more faster paced and more precision oriented. But in terms of like there's stealth moments, there's moments where you're gonna have to evade obstacles and stuff like that. So it's just a straightforward platformer. You're not really, at least starting out, because I'm only like an hour and a half in, you're not really doing any attacks or what have you. At least not yet. I don't know. Maybe you get an ability later where it's like, oh, I'm gonna be able to push that guy now or whatever. I don't. But at the most, that's probably the most you would end up doing.
So, by the way, it's set in the same world as Golf Club Nostalgia. That's what I was trying to get at, was that it's actually set in the same universe. There's a connection between the two games.
Interesting.
I thought it was interesting, yeah.
Yeah, that is interesting.
They didn't need to do that, but apparently, apparently the Cub character will, like, there's a level where you'll see him watching you play golf, or there's something like that. Where
it's like the PUBG universe.
Yeah.
I remember that.
Because, I mean, it's the same setting, right? Human life is wiped out. Earth is now a golf course for the ultra-rich. And the Cub is kind of in that same setting, not playing golf, of course, but like human life is wiped out, and there's just kind of ultra rich, weird societies that are still around. So anyway, it's an interesting game. We talked about the demo a little bit, but the music's
what
really good.
Are you actually playing as? Like, what is the character?
You're a little kid.
You're playing as a little boy who was raised by wolves, basically, and the setting is Earth has been abandoned by now. Like, it has been deemed unlivable, civilization as a whole has moved somewhere else, colonized a different planet. I think it's Mars. Everybody loves the idea of colonizing Mars.
Man. Mars, we're all up there.
But what's really cool is like there's a radio station that's constantly going on, and I think it's because you find a helmet of somebody that was downed at some point. This is in the demo too. You find an astronaut helmet and you put it on, and it's still getting a radio signal. So the whole time you're playing, you're getting like a radio station that the game dev created, and like really original music that I've never heard before. It sounds really cool, fits the vibe of the game and stuff like that. Sounds very futuristic and indie and stuff like that. So I love that aspect of like listening to the radio shows and the songs and stuff. But yeah, some of the platforming is just super tricky to the point where I've quit a couple times just to be like, I'm going to take a break from this. This is getting frustrating.
Yeah. There's some chase sequences that can be a little bit like, all right.
Yeah. Yeah. And the dying animation is not fast enough. It's not that it's slow. It's not fast enough to my liking. Like I want it to die and reset right away, kind of like some games do, where it's like you die and it's immediately respawn right away. This one has to give you some sort of dying animation a little bit, like where it's kind of like the caveman drawing, and but it's what happened to him. It's like if he gets electrocuted, that's what the animation shows you. And I'm like, come on, skip it. Just take me back to my dude. It's so frustrating.
I think it's Super Meat Boy that might have the fastest respawn. In a platformer. Are you guys play Super Meat Boy?
Like right
Celeste
away,
is really quick.
Just jumps you
Celeste
back to...
is quick, yeah.
It's very quick, yeah.
What I like about Super Meat Boy, by the way, as you are going through, there's smaller levels. You just got to get to the end, but at the end, it'll replay all of your attempts all at once. So you see all your versions of Meat Boy running and getting like smashed as you like make your, and like they're all dying off throughout the level.
That's funny.
It's one of the best little replays. Super Meat Boy. But anyway, so yeah, the Cub has great vibes, like a really cool aesthetic to it, both with the sound and the visuals. I like it. So I need to play the full game. The demo was really fun. So I need to play the full game.
The demo is more of that, and there's more of a narrative. The demo eliminates some of it, so you get a little more of that. It's definitely story driven.
Prince of Persia did that too, right? Where like the demo did like it cut out some stuff.
They cut out so much of that demo. It's like what the hell?
They're like a Dragon demo too, where it's like, oh, I think I'm in the demo part, and I'm like, oh, this is all wrong.
This is way different.
Yeah, this is all different. I
like how
they Mandela'd me, or something. I don't know. It's fun though. But like, I mean, after Infinite Wealth and like having just got to Hawaii, and I really want to get to that, the island chapter where you get your own island and stuff. I mean, bro, when am I gonna have time to play that? Like, I mean, I just don't. That's why I haven't touched Enshrouded, even though I looked at the combat and the exploration, and those things are very enticing to me. Even if I don't end up building that much compared to others, because I tend to not do building.
But you don't have to. They keep it pretty simple. You can just build a basic little place.
Yeah, that's what I thought. It's more action oriented.
Just sit in to keep warm at night.
If there's raids from enemy mobs, I haven't experienced it yet. So far, home base has like truly been a safe retreat to like go and organize all my stuff and I like creating all my little storage containers because I don't know what I want to get rid of yet. So I just throw all my resources and all those. Like that's kind of what home base is. I didn't spend a ton of time decking it out quite yet. Oh, I meant to mention this. I know we already moved on from Enshrouded. They have a great glide system, and you can get upgraded versions of that over time. It'll glide farther.
That's part of the exploration stuff that I really
glide is like, really fun.
Glide looks so fun.
Everyone's stealing Breath of the Wild glide.
Yeah,
this is a little
Horizon did it.
I mean, like
again, that's really cool when we talk about like the types of impact that Breath of the Wild had on open world games. Like gliding is 1,000% one of them.
This is a little more Spider-Man 2 without all the lift, because it's a bodysuit that you kind of just put your arms out and you're actually like gliding as opposed to holding a parachute. Like you're not floating down slowly in Enshrouded. You are like gliding forward really quickly. And then there's a grapple hook.
The grapple hook thing looks really fun.
Yeah.
So Palworld's got a grapple hook. Yeah.
Oh, come on.
Yeah. Everyone's grappling up, baby.
I love grappling and gliding.
Grappling and gliding.
I think, as far as action goes, like it's just, I saw what Palworld had to offer, and then I saw what Enshrouded have to offer, and like Enshrouded's combat looks like it's more up my alley, basically. If I had to pick between the two, and I do, because I'm gonna be too busy with Infinite Wealth.
I think you like the wand stuff. Like you can just kind of sit there and like almost Harry Potter.
Oh yeah, you can cheese a lot in Enshrouded.
That's how I got through this whole tune with all these spiders that kept jumping out at me. I was just shooting little fire things at them from around the corner. Like
that's smart. Yeah,
it was great.
I saw somebody cheese an entire boss by jumping on the roof and shooting through a hole in the roof, and so funny.
Really good,
but apparently some of the bosses have like a difficulty spike that is unreasonable later in the game. So he was like, I had no choice. I had to choose his boss.
Yeah, hopefully they balance that stuff out properly, or at least like if
we'll see. Early access, that's got to be why it's called.
I don't mind suiting up for a really tough fight if it's like, hey, we're going to give you the tools you need and give you all the upgrades you need. You just have to work for it. I'm fine with that if that's the case.
But yeah, Enshrouded will be the one I end up getting, but it's again when I don't know.
Yeah.
The summer better be slow, the better the game. You know what I mean? So
that's true. It's in early access.
Keep on kicking the can down the road. Like it's just going to be better for you.
Yeah, by summer it'll be like this amazing. Oh, they did 18 updates and they're all incredible or whatever.
Yeah, like who knows when these games are actually coming out? You know, like I feel like a lot of these games stay in early access for a year or two sometimes. So
yeah, like Valheim, which has been 3 years now.
I was going to say, is that even out?
So their final biome is supposed to release in the first half of the year, is what they just said recently.
Them, dude. Good for them.
But Valheim still has my favorite building system. I know Dan can attest to this. It's just got a great snap system. You built that treehouse, which was awesome. Like their building system
it's just like I feel like a kid playing with Legos. Like it's just has this like sort of like addictive.
Very satisfying. Very satisfying as you snap all the pieces together and so I think Enshrouded has some of that. It feels pretty good. It's a little more cumbersome to like get the right sizes of blocks and like what exactly you want and where to place it. But once you get into a rhythm and like how to make this piece go like farther away from you or closer to you or snap in the right way, like it's not quite as intuitive, but I do like it. They have a huge advantage in all the different materials. Right away, you can choose between stone and wood, and they have a very unique look to them. But then you eventually can use different types of wood. Like the shroud wood that you get has this dark plank look to it. You can use bones. You can use these luminescent stones that glow. You can use these ones that are moss covered. Like they right away start throwing all these building materials at you where you can make your buildings look really interesting.
You could build, I think maybe actually you even mentioned it, Tim, in the ground, like little hobbit homes.
You can dig, you can dig underground and it'll stay.
Like, I didn't know that you could dig. I'm so doing this whenever I get back on tonight.
You can dig
I'm
underground.
making a hobbit hole,
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I just saw a thumbnail that shows like a hobbit home.
It's a voxel based thing. I only know this because of some YouTube videos I've watched. It's voxel based, so it's these little like 1x1 cubes, and then when you're building, you can use 1x1, 2x2, or 4x4 type cubes, either in a block or on a flat wall type thing or flat surface. But when you're mining, it's the same type of thing. You're taking out these chunks of little 1x1 blocks as you mine, and so it's just removing those. But it's meshed together in a way that it doesn't look blocky. It doesn't look like Minecraft.
Yeah, no, it doesn't look voxel based.
It's all like the design is meshed together, so it looks smooth.
That's amazing. That's
cool. But it's still block based, so it kind of gives your brain something to like lean into as you're trying to design something. You have this grid kind of to work with in your head, which is nice. So yeah, really, really fun game. I love it. I understand why. I think it's getting. Some people are saying it's good, but it still has some room to grow, like that kind of thing. Totally accurate. I get that. I just feel like this game is gonna suck away.
I think this game's really gonna take off. Yeah, in a big way.
Yeah, this is a really good one. So, all right, let's talk about some headlines right now. Some things that have been happening since we've met. I'm sure I've missed some because I haven't been jotting down notes for a month straight. I've been every once in a while trying to grab a few. Over this past week, I went and grabbed a couple. So feel free to.
Nothing's happened. No one's been laid off. Everything's been fine, guys.
Yeah, there's zero layoffs.
Everything's been fine.
Real happy year.
Everything has been great so far.
Yeah, it's been fantastic, guys. Everyone's happy and has their well-being, their livelihood is intact. Don't worry about it. Well, Stalker 2 has been delayed to late 2024. I don't know if you remember, but it was previously bumped back during the Russia-Ukraine stuff, and then it got bumped again to Q1 of 2024, and now they've got it slated as late 2024 for Stalker 2, which is, I don't know that it's a huge game, but it is a notable one in Xbox's camp as far as like a console exclusive that's pretty important to them. We'll come back to the layoff thing, so I want to talk about that for a couple minutes. Foamstars has a release date, February 6th, and it's going to be a PS Plus game and $30 when it's not a PS Plus game.
Sure.
So I think they're pricing it in a smart way. It's an easy game to make fun of. It's obviously taking some ideas from other places, which, hey, Palworld did it, okay? So
precedent's been set.
It's fine.
About to get sued, guys.
My favorite, though, was when Foamstars director was like, please stop comparing us to Splatoon.
I think I missed that. That's funny.
Yeah, it's a hilarious quote.
Just wait for a week until the game comes out. They're gonna put out a statement that's like, "We're not a scam, guys. We're not a scam game."
Yeah. So I can't believe Square is publishing a game called Foamstars that looks like this. Whatever. It's fine. It's fine. So that's coming out in about a week from a little bit more than a week from when this episode releases.
So Square needs to cut the shit with the at first it was the NFTs, then it was the AI stuff, because apparently there is AI related art shenanigans going on in Foamstars. It's like you're already getting like dragged a little bit for the clear similarities of Splatoon or whatever. Like, come on, guys, what are you doing?
Yep, totally agree. I'm gonna go through a couple of these quick ones that are in general before we circle back to the other ones. Bandai Namco's Sandland game, which we've talked about a little bit, has a release date of April 26th, coming out to PS4, PS5, Series X, and PC. That's the Dragon Ball Z
Toriyama
creator or designer, both? Is that
creator? Yeah.
Okay. So that's that game looks really interesting. I'm curious about Sandland.
Yeah, I got to see way more of that. Yeah,
I did too. I'm curious, like, what does it play like? I know it looks interesting, the cell shading style, but
I just like that. Like, I mean, at least for me, like, I know there are people that are very condescending about it and whatever, cynical. He has a very specific look. Toriyama has a very specific look. You know it's him when you see it. And you know what? I think it's fine. Whatever. I think it's, and this is like looks at least more unique because it's like the main character is not even human. He's like this, I don't know, goblin thing. Like, I don't even know what he is, but
some of the vehicle combat looks like it has potential to be pretty fun. I just don't know. I just don't know if it'd be fun to play. WWE 2K24. This is a timely announcement based on who just won the Royal Rumble.
I was going to say McMahon. The McMahon
and McMahon. But anyway, that's coming out on March 3rd. And Cody Rhodes is going to be on the cover officially for this one.
Yeah. If you get deluxe, you get the better cover, in my opinion. This cover looks pretty generic to me. But Rhea Ripley and Bianca Belair. Tim just saw Bianca wrestle.
I did.
Very strong. Very strong lady. Very strong. I walked in the room and said, "Wow, what a strong lady."
Wow, she's very strong.
But they are both on the deluxe version of the physical cover. They still do physical covers for these types of games, which is, and I mean all 2K games, like Madden games too. It matters, So that's kind of huge. I think the first time that women have been on a cover together, like that was really
cool.
But I think the main feature in this game, and I don't know how it's going to work yet because it's only been teased, is WrestleMania is turning 40 this year. Which is insane to think of. I've been watching since 14, since WrestleMania 14. God damn it, I'm fucking old. So
is McMahon. He's looking pretty old too.
Yeah.
No, he dyes his hair black now, so it's totally not old or creepy.
He doesn't look like Creed from The Office at all.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Later skater.
What's up, guys?
Later skater.
Yeah. What's up?
Sometimes you got to ride the bull, right?
Yeah, exactly. My understanding, I don't know if that means it's going to be. So it's going to be a highlight of all 40 WrestleManias, 39, I guess, technically. Really cool. But I don't know if that means, what does that mean? Is it showcase all main events, or is it, what is it? Because you got a clearance for a lot of different people's likenesses. Like the first main event had Mr. T in it. Is he going to approve that? Is his estate going to approve that or whatever? Is he dead? I don't even know. Are we going to get these answers?
I think he's still alive.
Mr. T is very much alive. Yeah, he's alive. He's alive.
Pity the fool who thinks I'm dead.
Pitiful.
Nice. So that's March 3rd. We got some release dates that are hitting for this Q1. It's interesting. Foamstars, WWE 2K24. Everyone get excited. Speaking of release dates, Skull and Bones is actually for real releasing on February 16th.
Maybe.
It's happening. There's an open beta, actually a Super Bowl weekend, February 8th through 11th. So I'm going to try this game out. I want to figure out, am I spending money on this or not? Like, or am I going to wait for the inevitable, insane Ubisoft price cut that will happen before Easter? You know what I mean? Like, this game's going to go super cheap. I'm convinced of it. So I'm going to try the beta to see.
For a game that feels like a service game, them going, hey, we have a whole year of content planned out. I'm like, a year?
One?
Yeah, one?
Yeah.
What?
Okay.
All right. One step at a time, guys. You know?
One step at a time, and they are charging. It's not like a set. I don't think it's $70. Isn't it 50? I can't remember, but it is.
Was 70.
Maybe it is 70. I know you pay up front for the game, so I'm anticipating it being like the service stuff. I know it's Ubisoft. I've seen Ubisoft service stuff. I know what it can be like, but I'm anticipating it being more like the Division games where it was there, but I really enjoyed that game.
Your level of engagement with it is your choice. Yeah,
that's what I'm hoping.
60. It's 60.
Is this going to be 60? Okay, yeah, cool.
Okay. So I'm glad there's a beta. That's essentially going to operate as my demo for that.
I know. Yeah, I really want to know. Like, I'm prepared to buy this game if it's a really cool pirate game. I really am. Yeah,
Same.
But like, it's just when we heard about this game 10 years ago, and it's so much just comical. Its whole thing. So.
I agree. Yeah, same thing with like Senua Saga, as we talked about. You know, where it's like, all right, got a release date for May, but
literally was 10 years ago.
Now that game is like, oh no, it's gonna be the same length as the first one, guys. Who told you to be longer?
It's a mini game, remember? We told you guys this.
You told us it was gonna be significantly longer and bigger.
Oh, we didn't say that.
I don't think we said that. Yeah, you did. Anyway, it's fine. So
it's fine. We're fine. Everything's fine.
Palworld has sold over 8 million copies in 6 days. Actually, now it's been 7 days.
That's it.
8 million copies. Like, is this a Nintendo game? What is this? Like nothing sells.
I think these are just PC numbers too.
That's crazy. And of course, this doesn't count all the.
Or something.
This doesn't count.
I think it's just
game. It's not like users. It's not like Game Pass players. This is sales. This is units sold. That's money that's coming into them directly. That's crazy. And it's breaking Steam records. I've had to update this note 3 times. It is now over 2.1 concurrent users at its peak. Let me double check that hasn't been updated real quick to see if 2.1 still. Jeez Louise, 2.1 million users at its all-time peak. That's actually the 24-hour peak too, so that's very, very recent. That's second only to PUBG Battlegrounds, which peaked at 3.2 million. I don't know when that was. That was a long time ago, because now PUBG
back when there was only one battle royale game.
Exactly. Now that game still has a lot of people that play it, but it hovers in the between 200,000 to 500,000 peaks. You know what I mean? Like that's usually where it stays at its high levels. But that means it passed Counter-Strike 2, Lost Ark, and Dota 2. Some of the most played online. Like those have communities that will never stop playing those games. That's the only games I'll ever play. And it passed those, and those were all significant. And that means Palworld is a little weird because I know it's not a single player like action adventure RPG, but it also kind of is. It's not the same as
play it that way. Yeah.
It's not the same as a PUBG or Counter-Strike, in my opinion. But
I've heard it's more like Ark Survival is a good comparison.
Ark's a really good comparison.
That sounds fair.
Yeah. And I think my understanding is, at least from people that were playing Ark, is that their remake of the first game or whatever it is, a remaster of the first game, is complete ass. So they were clamoring for a new game like Palworld, like to come out. Kind of.
So it had an audience.
Right, they fumbled, and then
I think it was like Survival Ascended or whatever. I don't know.
I guess Ark 2's a little bit in trouble then, huh?
Yeah,
they couldn't even get a remaster done, like they couldn't even get a remake done or whatever.
Family. But then Cyberpunk 2077 hit a peak of 1 million. Elden Ring was just under 1 million. New World, Hogwarts.
Under 1 million? What a piece of garbage.
New World, Hogwarts Legacy, and Baldur's Gate 3 round out the top 10 in terms of like the peak of Steam concurrent users.
Oh man, all those are terrible then.
Yeah, aren't they? And by the way, we had
Starfield.
Baldur's Gate at 5. Steam has it at 10. So that's how that works, guys. That's how that works.
Yeah, exactly. That's how that works.
So anyway, dude, it's just crazy that it's
same list.
It's I never would have guessed. They're like, hey, guess what 2024 game is going to kind of shock the industry and take second place on Steam's all-time player list. I probably would have named 50, I would have looked through the release date of 2024 and named so many games before Palworld.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, same.
But anyway, it's pretty exciting for them. I am happy to hear about a little team having success, especially when they made something that is, by all accounts, and by Kyle's account earlier, a very competent to good, maybe even great game experience. That's awesome. I think
that's cool.
Another game that's also like you have a goal. You know what I mean? Like it's just like I feel like a lot of the survival games like they lose people because they're like I just don't know what to do next. You know.
Yes.
But like stuff like Enshrouded and Palworld is just like you go here next. Like this is where you're supposed to go. Here it is.
Right.
You know, like
that's right.
Cool. Good for them.
Quick note for another release date on February 13th. We will get Lysfanga, the Time Shift Warrior. This is a Quantic Dream, game.
Yeah, it's by their indie team.
Their little spin-off team.
Yeah, whatever it's called. They did Under the Waves as well.
Yeah.
But this one's like an action game.
They're calling it a Hades-like, is what I've heard.
Yeah,
I know what you're
It looks like there's a lot of like teleporting abilities, and I saw on the trailer, so it looks cool. But it is coming out in February, so
it's a February game.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it comes out the day of like 3 other games, so it's kind of like, well, you're not going to get played then.
Yeah.
Right.
It comes out the same day as Banishers and
Banishers,
Islands of Insight, which is a Talos Principle type game.
Lysfanga is a weird name for a game. Like I wouldn't even have known.
I can't say it. I'm not buying it.
Like,
Is it Lysfanga? You think?
That's what I mean. I don't know.
If it's like Nordic, then it's probably Lysfanga.
Is this Lysfanga?
Lysfanga.
The senior designer of Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown, as he was being interviewed, he happened to be talking about like what other games he'd love to make. I don't know if this was just off the cuff and him just kind of like spitballing, or if it's something that he's really been thinking about. He wants to make a Zelda game, and he's thinking, what if we did some spin-off of The Adventure of Link, Zelda 2, that famous kind of side-scrolling one? What if they reimagined that type of Zelda experience? I was like, dude, if you made a Metroidvania Zelda game, my head might explode.
That'd be pretty cool.
Like imagining Link in that same type of Prince of Persia style game.
Oh. Hold on. The underworld of Tears of the Kingdom. Turn that into Metroidvania.
Oh my gosh,
right?
Dude.
Because I mean, like, there's obviously all that, kind of mountainous underground, like all that.
Is so cool. And the timing is interesting because Nintendo has recently been quoted, or like some internal folks have said, yeah, we're more and more open to external teams handling our IP. Like they're more and more open to that.
People love those Capcom Zelda games. They do.
Yeah.
Those are like considered some of the best entries, So I don't, Nintendo is classically like mine with their stuff, but like you said, like there are some occasions, and recently with these quotes, like where they're like,
Metroid wasn't Metroid Dread. Wasn't Metroid Dread by Retro Studios, which was technically not Nintendo that made, right?
It was a different. It was. Hold on.
I don't remember. Yeah, I don't remember.
It was a different studio. You are right.
I don't think Nintendo created Metroid Dread. I don't think. Like they're internal teams.
Shoot, where is it?
Other M. Speaking of Metroid, Other M was not Nintendo.
Right? And everyone loved Other M, from what I know.
Retro did the remaster, Metroid Prime remaster.
Oh, they did Prime remaster. That's what I'm thinking of. Yeah. Okay.
Mercury Steam. I don't know who Mercury Steam is.
Mercury Steam did like old. Didn't they do some Castlevania games?
That sounds right.
Yeah.
Like on the Game Boy Advance or something.
Yeah,
Castlevania DS. Lord of Shadow.
Oh, on the DS.
They were attached to that.
Okay.
Samus Returns. They were attached. So they did
safe to say that Nintendo has allowed some external folks with Metroid Prime Remastered, Metroid Dread. They've allowed, and Ubisoft with Mario, adding it to this Mario plus Rabbids weird, spin-off game.
They're already in bed with Ubisoft. They're already in bed with them.
Dude, that would be so cool.
Playing with Ubisoft.
I was trying to see like where the connection would be, and like there it is, Rabbids right there. I think it's right there.
So especially with the success, both critical and I think commercial success of Prince of Persia, it'd be interesting to see what they do next. Over there at Ubisoft. I'd love it if they took a Nintendo IP, but honestly, make another Prince of Persia or a new IP with more games like this, I'll be happy with that too. So, by the way, speaking of Nintendo, Golden Sun RPGs, both of them are now available on Switch Online through their Game Boy Advance catalog, so you can go check those out. And speaking of Mario plus Rabbids, they're nearing 3 million units sold. I don't know if you guys knew, but that's a good number.
Nice.
That's a good number of games sold. I know it's hard because you hear about like Palworld is over 8 million in 1 week, or you hear about I don't know, like really any first party Nintendo game will hit like 15 million without breaking a sweat. Like that's just crazy. That's not normal. So 3 million is actually putting it on pace with the first game, which was considered a sales success. That's why they greenlit the sequel.
The second one,
But the second one was kind of early on deemed like, we should have waited. Even Ubisoft was quoted as like, we should have waited for the Switch 2. Like this just should have just held off because they kind of thought it was a flop. But it's been selling consistently. They've had good sales. It's been featured on the eShop, and so it sounds like it's doing well, which is good. All right, let's shift into something negative to close out the headlines. we're up to 5,000 folks laid off in the gaming industry already in 2024. Now, there's probably a whole bunch of caveats and asterisks to put on that, but it doesn't matter. Like, that's a lot of people. There might be good reasoning. The timing might make sense. Like, if you look at, like, maybe, and I'm even one of those people who's like, well, maybe it makes sense because of this. That still
this time
sucks.
Of year, classically, people leave. Even at my business, like this time of year, people get their bonuses and they jet out or they get let go.
Also, you had a major acquisition. No major moves were made by Microsoft with Activision and Blizzard. In terms of like staffing. So I'm not at all surprised. Like if you would have asked me like, hey, do you think there'll be layoffs? I probably would have been like, oh, yeah, there probably will be with an acquisition like this.
There's
what's actually super gross? Actually, that you bring that up is what's his face douchebag Bobby Kotick getting his nice big fat check on his way out, and then they lay off 1,900 people. I literally just thought of that. I'm like, oh yeah, that's pretty gross, right? Like
you
gotta get the billionaire paid, So
I'm with you, man, and I don't. I know this is probably corporate speak and Phil Spencer trying to make sure that people know that they care about their employees and former employees. But he did say that like everyone who's being affected is, we're working to get severance and get them jobs. I was like, he made the whole statement that you make when you lay off a whole bunch of people.
Yeah.
So I don't know how true that is, and it certainly is going to be nothing.
We'll know soon if it's true or not. I mean, when people say they didn't get their severances, well, that'll be a headline.
That will be a headline. That's true. Yeah. So yeah, Xbox specifically was part of that 1,900 or that 5,000. They laid off about 1,900, or in the process, maybe still of laying off 1,900. In restructuring, that includes physical media staff, which I thought was an interesting note. That essentially their entire physical media team, maybe not entire, but a good chunk of it, was part of that realigning of strategic resources, I guess you could say. And
that's insane.
So as I'm thinking about that, and I did read something that said about 80% of their game sales was digital. I don't know if that's true or not. I feel like I read that recently. So, it's easy to say.
Are they counting Game Pass downloads as a sale?
Probably not, right?
I don't
think
they
shouldn't, right?
No, I don't think so.
No.
Huh. Because obviously the 100% of those are going to be digital.
100% of those. Sure. But yeah, I think it does. I think Game Pass, though, even if, regardless of how they're attributing, if it's 80%, whatever, regardless of how they attribute that, Game Pass, I think, is a big part of that. That's clearly been the centerpiece of their strategy and their gaming division for a long time now. And so
it's just because gaming is like the industry that's behind streaming, right? Like in terms of going digital, like streamers right now, the bubble's bursting. They're pushing out ads to every service imaginable, raising prices, cutting shows that had a second season or whatever, canceling movies entirely because there's a Halle Berry movie that just got canceled on Netflix. Really? And the gaming industry has a chance to look at that and be like, maybe we don't do that. Like maybe we don't do things that way. But instead, Game Pass is still like $10 or whatever. It's kind of stupid, honestly, when you think about like they have all these cautionary tales to refer to and they're not doing it.
Well, it's also the strike that was going on. So they won, right? They won, and then it's like, well, how do we?
Are you talking about the voice acting people?
No, I think he's talking about the movie strike.
The writer strike. Yeah. So they won, right? And then the suits are like, okay, well, how are we going to recoup that? Oh, we're going to raise the prices.
Oh, we have to pay people more. Well, we'll make the user pay for it. Yeah. I mean,
yeah, that's true. I did sense that it was going to trickle down eventually to the consumer. They don't give a crap about.
So I mean,
anything else but line in their pockets.
But according to Jez Corden, this guy from Windows Central, he's one of the editors there.
Great name, Jez
Corden.
I don't know.
When he's on the phone, hey, hello, this is Jez. Guys, did you say Jess or Jeff or a normal name? No, I said Jez.
As we all know,
you're gonna do what to me? You're gonna jizz on me?
Jez is actually the name of the music in Star Wars. It's Jez.
They jazz all over you with that.
We all know that
That's true.
Jez Corden is just the alter ego of now disgraced late night talk show host James Corden. So Jez. So he basically, they're saying that
disgraced late night.
I know. If you,
it's just Americans. I think that. Well,
he wanted to note that he wanted to note that his sources have said that there's no confirmation that Microsoft is slowing or quitting physical retail for Xbox games. It's just that there's so many options to outsource that, and maintaining an internal team is super expensive.
Okay. So they could be replacing these layoffs with outsourced.
He just wanted to put that out there as a note. As like, there's no
fire full-time employees and you create contracting gigs. I mean, that's
right.
Of course. Yeah,
so
that makes sense.
He's
to
saying
me.
He's saying that there's no evidence that it's like a change in their strategy, that they're saying no more physical, but it's still that's possible, but there's no evidence of that necessarily.
I buy it.
Which was interesting. So anyway, by the way, alongside this news, there's this with some leadership at Blizzard and other places stepping down. There's a lot of change happening over there, which we knew would happen.
The president at Blizzard,
Mike Ibarra,
he resigned, and he was at Microsoft before, and then he left for Blizzard, and he left Blizzard because
he's like, nope.
Yeah. Wow. I know what this looks like. I'm out of here. Yeah.
And there's some conflicting stories about, oh no, he was gonna do that well before this, and other people saying like, no, he wasn't. So like, there's some conflicting stories about him leaving. Anyway, there was a Untitled survival game that Blizzard was working on. It was announced about 2 years ago.
It's a new IP, right?
That's no longer in development.
Right.
Which is a bummer. And I hope they don't tell us too much about it, because a Blizzard survival game perks my ears right up. I'm like, what is it? What do you got? Because they said it was inspired by everything
like Valheim and all
Minecraft
that stuff.
And Rust.
So
and
that's rad. Yeah.
All kinds of stuff.
And they're like, it was called StarCraft Ghost.
It was
not this again.
And it got canceled again.
Dang it.
It was in development for 6 years, according to some.
Yeah.
Wow. So it was probably nearing on being done. That's crazy. Maybe Jez has the scoop on this.
Jez, tell us what happened.
Let's go to Jez.
Short for Jezzy, okay?
Things are getting messy.
It's actually Jezzy Bell is what I heard.
Yeah, Jezzy Bell. Oh my gosh.
Y'all are making a mess with all this jazz.
I feel like Jim Ross would be very happy with that name. That's Jezebel.
My God.
He still says that. And I'm like, it's 2024. Stop saying that about
Jezebel.
I don't know that you can say that anymore.
He says it about like any female who's a heel in wrestling.
Yeah. This no good Jezebel.
Yeah, it's like, dude.
It's like this broad over here. I'm like, are we gonna say that now? I don't think we're allowed.
He sounds like a really out of touch Southern
broad in the last 3
tough
months,
broad, sure.
So, He sounds like a really out of touch Southern preacher who's like never talked to anyone outside of his congregation.
I'll say.
It's kind of like this happened when AEW first started. Orange Cassidy, who I've shown you guys clips of him.
Hands in the pockets.
Hands in the pockets, super chill wrestler. Kind of takes the piss out of wrestling. In the first year and a half of AEW, Jim Ross was just like, what the hell's going on? Like he
didn't understand.
He didn't understand the gimmick at all. He was like, I got this doing soft hits. I don't know what the hell's going on with this guy.
It's like nobody told him. He didn't get the email. He didn't get the email.
Dude, it is so funny the way a guy has his hands in his pockets and he's just doing these soft like toe taps on people instead of actual kicks. It's funny.
And the crowd is like, "Oh, just
it's a good gimmick." It's a good gimmick.
Yeah, it's a good time. Oh man. Well, we've heard whispers that this could be a really rough year in terms of job loss and layoffs and all that, and reconsolidating and acquisition and studio shutting down. I've heard in multiple places people talking about 2024 could be a rough one. So yes. if January is any indication, it's off to a really bad start.
Sadly, Microsoft is not the only one this week with layoffs, but it was smaller developers that got hit as well.
Yeah.
Throughout the week.
Yeah, there was one developer where they're a developer of like 60 or 70 people, and they laid off 80% of their staff, and I'm like, why are you still open? I don't know. You hear that kind of thing. Like, what are you making with
they're just
3
a skeleton
people?
crew,
It's so
probably
sad,
just maintaining some last updates before they shut down or something. Maybe.
Maybe.
I don't know.
But
Man.
it sucks. But it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, that sucks, and it's kind of part of life, and you roll the dice when you do this kind of work. But it's also still, it sucks. Like it's all those things are true all at once.
Right.
It is part of life, but then it's like you do wonder. It's like
part of life in America specifically.
These suits at the top. It's like so they were just like, all right, hire do a whole huge ass wave of hiring, and then it's like, oh wait, no, we shouldn't have done that. Pull back, and then they fire. But it's like, I don't know. Like, aren't you guys supposed to be smarter, making your millions of dollars and kind of maybe trying to predict a little better?
And
there's some of that.
They came into these hard times with the tactic of, and this has been since the beginning of games, is you overhire to QA test, then you fire everybody. The cyclical nature of hiring and firing, came into this era of unsustainability, bubble bursting. So they brought all this bad tactics and bad kind of running of businesses in before they realized oh no, like we're up to our necks and issues right now.
Well, and unsustainable growth progressions, which we've talked about ad nauseum on this podcast.
Right. Games are more expensive than ever
projecting so much growth every year. It's like you got to line up with inflation, bro. You just
games have gotten so people incredibly ambitious and so expensive, and you're paying thousands of people to like make a video game. When a big budget game like fails, like people get fired and then the studios close down, you know, like that's.
But to be clear, it's not just the big corporations, although those are really fun targets to shoot at because they're easy to villainize, and I'm sure a lot of them are absolute jerks and horrible people. Some of them probably aren't. It's fair to say, but it's the small studios too. We just heard about this one that made that game Ruiner. They're pretty much shut
half
down.
Their staff is
hard.
The development studio behind the Shadow Gambit Cursed Crew, Mimimi Studios, they're done. Like they've shut
that happened
down.
like what a couple months after launch or something.
I was reading their
that was crazy.
I was reading their stuff about it, and it wasn't that. It's not like that game underperformed. That game actually sold decently well. It's continuing to sell well, and that's great. But as they looked at their next project and were trying to start budgeting for it, they just realized like what Kyle's been saying. This isn't sustainable. They essentially couldn't launch into their next project. It was financially impossible to do like another thing.
So sad, there's so many high profile games now too, like little tiny projects like that or medium sized projects are having to completely compete against like Marvel Spider-Man and you know and Baldur's Gate and like all these other huge games that came out that like people are spending money on that stuff that like and their time on that stuff, and there's so many of those types of games that like a little tiny game with no marketing, like of course it's going to fly under the radar in a way that closes down a studio, and it sucks, you know, it sucks big time. You know?
I feel like this is going to be a continued problem the more people younger than us continue to grow up and have dreams and aspirations and try to tackle them. Like, there's too many freaking people trying to do the same thing. That's really what it boils down to sometimes.
There's not enough time and people to buy every game out there. There just isn't.
True.
You know?
Yeah, exactly. That too.
Especially since gaming, just like any other business, is trendy. Like it's everything's like following trends and stuff like that.
Right.
So.
Right. Yeah, and those trends are starting to get not in gaming in general, but in terms of like how games go viral and stuff. This could just be me and a general hope of where we're going as a society, but I feel like social media is kind of, I don't know. I feel like it's kind of the well is running a little dry nowadays. I don't know. Maybe that's just all pushing 40 Jeff talking. It could be. Hopefully, it's not though. But I'm seeing like is it the mayor or the governor of New York who was like, state of emergency, social media is a mental health problem.
Oh, mayor, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not wrong.
He didn't pass any laws or anything. He just said we're going to have to treat it as such and treat like if there's an emergency or something, we have resources in place to help kids that might be struggling or something like that. But
they declared an emergency like Michael Scott declared bankruptcy. He just said
I declare bankruptcy.
Yeah, he declared.
Just scream it loud enough. Yeah, it's real.
But you know, the point is like I feel like we're kind of in like a people are kind of tired of the grind. Maybe that could be a hope as well.
Could be.
Yeah, I hope so.
Well, I mean, nice. People like don't want to be paid. Like, 'cause, I don't know. It's like with there was the fast food whole thing of people wanting to be paid a certain amount because they're like, I can't survive off of this living. But then there's the counter argument of that.
Yeah, that's a national thing too. Yeah,
maybe like go for like a different kind of job because you shouldn't be getting paid this much.
What different kind of job nowadays though? It's like
then that's difficult.
Well, and it's like only if you hold a certain type of job do you have the right to live. That's a really weird slippery slope, you know.
Yeah, totally true.
But how that my comments on social media feed into gaming is like I'm on TikTok every night before bed. It's a habit, I guess, a bad one, in my opinion. But you know, I'm scrolling through and I'm like, I'm just seeing less activity on certain video game people that I follow, and I'm like, are people giving less of a crap on these apps, or is it just me and my algorithm? Is it my algorithm feeding into my sense of being tired of all this? I don't know.
TikTok knows you. It's like you're tired of this.
Yeah, I think they're like, when I open the app, it says, "Are you sure you meant to open this?"
Maybe online communities are existing more in like streamer chat rooms and Discord and stuff like that now.
Yeah.
Maybe we're moving away from the idea of Twitter and posting every little stupid thing, whether it's your food or your dumb opinion
that have
or
done
whatever.
The same thing with Twitter, where they're just like, I'm kind of done with this vibe.
Yeah,
I don't vibe with this
instead,
anymore,
I can find a lane, go, hey, I like this lane. I can get in a Discord about that lane. I could chat, I could type, I could do all this stuff. it's ran by a personality that I enjoy, so I watch their content or whatever, you know. Like, I feel like maybe you're right. Maybe things are moving. This is maybe not what you're saying, but maybe it's moving somewhere else, you know.
That would be cool.
Online.
A place like Dan's community for his streaming. Like, I mean,
yeah,
he's got like a whole, and it's like a close-knit community of people like that are just genuinely kind to each other.
And I feel like that goes a lot further. Like when people know each other, and you can get online, you talk to the same handful of people that you're used to, and it's good vibes and stuff like that. Yeah.
I almost said that's what she said to Dan when he said that. He goes, "Mine's not huge."
It's not huge.
Yeah, yeah, it's not.
But it's close knit. I mentioned
when he's talking to Holly.
Yeah.
But yeah, like it's a. I don't know. It could be a double-edged sword, right? Because what you guys are saying absolutely like makes sense, and I totally agree. But then it is also the danger of like, you start like creating this sort of enclosed like group, and it's like then is everyone gonna sort of shift to like just thinking in that bubble? You know what I mean? And not accepting other ideas. Like
that's the whole reason
that kind of comes with it. But yeah, sometimes like there being not walls, but like soft barriers. You know, like. We're back at like sitting at the right table. You know what I mean? When you're in high school or whatever, and you're carrying your dumb lunch, made by angry old ladies,
paper bag,
and you're trying to find the table that you belong at or whatever.
Right. You're
like that wasn't always bad. You ended up finding your people, and like finding your people is kind of what this whole dumb experience of life is all about. So it's like. It doesn't always have to be like a narrow-minded, like I'm in my bubble and these people are in my bubble with me, Like sometimes it's like, hey, this bubble's pretty cool. There's some pretty chill people here, and you know what? And we're all happy with what we're doing here. And if we want to go experience other bubbles, we're happy to go do that too.
I don't know why I went into such a conjecture about social media and stuff, but it does kind of relate to the general. I feel like the general downfall of, and it's not just gaming. We've seen layoffs across technology companies in general. So there's something going on. There's something.
It's a paradigm shift happening for sure.
Yeah.
It's coming
like
in
a rebellion
against
inflation. The consumers are like tired of seeing prices rise and stay there. So naturally, the companies are seeing that and having to lay people off. I guess.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's going to be a challenging year, and certainly no intention of mine to minimize that by saying that's part of life. It's more of like that's the life.
That way at all.
That's the life we as humans have created for ourselves, and
totally.
Well, that's the price of capitalism. Like
capitalism. Absolutely.
Here we are. Like this is what it is. Like we're experiencing it. And maybe people are seeing it for the first time for the flaws that it has, or for the realistic nature that it is. But we're here now, and this is where it's at. And this is not going to be the. I'm not saying we're heading toward an industry-ending situation, but the industry did end before it. It ended in the 80s,
scenario,
like we had a major crash like in the 80s, and there was a bounce back, but that bounce back took like a hard reset of some sort. And I'm not saying we're going to go there again.
No, I don't think that's going to happen.
But I'm also saying that like no industry is strong enough to stave off change, and change is going to happen. And the form that it takes is the form that it takes. But we're in the middle of watching that paradigm shift, and however that's going to end up is however it's going to end up.
I think the scary
thing. Like whenever people talk about the industry crashing or whatever, like who's not going to be firing people? Rockstar. Whenever GTA 6 comes out, you know what I mean? There are going to be pillars in the industry that are everlasting forever and ever and ever and ever. And like,
what were you going to say, Dan?
No, it's just the scary thing of the change is who it's affecting, and it's usually the people at the bottom. It's usually the people at the bottom, and that's the scary thing.
And the creatives who end up getting boned out of it too, because all the suits are making the choices. So you get all these people who like creatively. The doctors from BioWare are a good example, who are just like, I'm done with this, and just kind of walk away. Some of them come back, but
that's why something like this is totally different industry and for a different reason, but that's why I kind of fist pump pretty hard when I see Vince McMahon walking his ass out the door, because finally we get the guy at the top,
the genetic jackhammer,
leaving the company after being a toxic piece of shit for years and years and years.
Was he not a nice person behind the door?
He hated when people sneezed. He got mad.
He even crapped on him.
Yeah,
literally.
Hey, he's got a poop.
Yeah. Hey, he's got a poop. That's good. That's good.
Dude, you need to create that meme if it's not already out there. That is really good.
That's what he meant to say this whole time, but he had to censor it. He said puke instead.
Pope. Yeah.
Good
man.
Not gonna. I mean, sure, I have fun memories like we all do that watched at that time, the Attitude Era of Vince being a character.
Of course. Dude, I'm the same way with actors that I've loved, where I'm like there are certain roles of someone like, let's say, like Kevin Spacey. I love some of his roles, and I'll always love some of those movies. Seven, Usual Suspects.
I almost said Usual Detectives, but that's the
line
he says.
The first few
seasons. Come on, guys. Okay.
The first few seasons of House of Cards. The first couple seasons of House of Cards were some of the best TV I've ever made.
Absolutely.
But that doesn't take away the fact that I'm like, but as an individual, even if a small portion of what they're saying about him is true, he's not a good person. So like, and it's the same thing with Vince. Like, I will always remember fondly the days of him being a great heel during the Attitude Era,
letting himself get his ass beat on TV. Yeah,
he was a great villain for the many heroes we had.
The entire fabric of wrestling, But all hats off to him for sure.
Hats off.
Also, a monster.
Also, a horrible person.
Both can be true.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
Anyway, hopefully there's not more bad news, at least not too frequently and in too big of numbers when it comes to staffing in the industry this year.
Worst case scenario, like Kyle was saying, I mean, sure, at sometimes the industry gets hit so bad that they're like, well, we're done, guys, full up shop. But I think worst case scenario is everybody just has to scale things back, and that's not limited to maybe Rockstar doesn't have to. They'll be fine. But
it sounds like things like Unreal 5 are going to help scale back some of that stuff.
I think so.
You're talking about tools.
The technology will bring the prices
you're talking about tools that make the process easier. It makes it where you don't have to have 1,000 people on a project. Maybe that technology will catch up with workload, and maybe there'll be a nice synergy there at some point. I don't know. That's the utopia version of it. We'll see. But
agreed.
I like the positive attitude.
I do too.
I think that the tools are there.
And hey, I will say, I know that it's easy to villainize AI, but I think AI could play a role in bringing costs down quite a bit.
I was actually going to say, I hope there's a healthy AI integration for stuff like Unreal 5 and
and I think that stuff's already probably being used in some capacity.
It's got to be.
But it's only I'm not saying procedurally generated stuff is AI. It's close though. You're talking about creating
almost
an algorithm.
Yeah.
I mean,
but over time you'll be able to teach it to procedurally generate this, and then I want you to here's the rules I want you to follow to improve that thing or to generate it better or whatever.
And not use other people's work
and
not steal.
You know what I mean? So it's just a tool.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that unfolds. All right, guys, let's wrap things up this week with some of our quick hits. Anything else we've been playing or watching that we want to highlight that we haven't had a chance to talk about for the last several weeks? Kyle, I think you are first up this week if you've got some stuff outside of the new things that you want to highlight.
I just saw Dan's note in the show notes. If you watched a Jeff amount of things, imagine how much I watched. So that's something.
Yeah, I mean, it's literally not, but
Dan's using a Jeff's name as a number, which I like.
Yeah,
I'm happy about it.
A quantity amount of Jeff.
So Kyle, do you have anything else that you wanted to highlight?
Yeah, I'll just go over a couple movies, a couple of shows that I've seen, and game wise, we kind of went over it. So I do have a yes and no segment coming up, but we're too much in catch up mode right now.
I'll do it for my movies and shows. I have so much to go through.
Okay, yeah. All right. So show wise, and Jeff's probably watched a couple of these, so you can feel free to chime in if you've seen these. But show wise, Echo came out. Watch it. The further away I get from it, the more I'm like, yeah, it was okay. I did enjoy a lot of the fight sequences, and I like some of the stuff, but it's a little messy and it's a little.
It's not as brave as everyone's making it seem.
Yeah, Mecco. Yeah, Mecco. Yeah, thank you, Jeff. Yeah.
Hey, I know that we're trying to go through this quick, but I have to ask this because I heard someone make this joke, and I have no idea. I haven't watched the show. I don't have Disney Plus right now. Yeah. But they said one of the easiest things for the villains in that show to have done at some point in the series, she is captured, and they throw her leg back in there with her because she has a prosthetic leg.
Yeah.
They were like, just keep her leg, and she can't fight you for the what do you do?
Right.
Destroy or keep the leg, but the villains are like,
that leg's got a knife in it. She's used it on your people.
So I just thought little things like that are funny to me. Where I'm like,
and the show filled with a lot of little stuff like that. Where you're like, that's kind of they didn't think of that's dumb.
Yeah, pitch meeting covered it pretty beautifully, especially like her powers, which is not the traditional thing from the comics because it's too close to Taskmaster, and we've already had Taskmaster, which is stupid. But
let's just give her weird glowy powers.
Super vague glowy powers.
Yeah, the power to like do whatever I want to do, like kind of whatever. It's very weird.
Sorry, I know I derailed this, but
they were on the path to something cool, and then I was like, maybe an extra episode would have explained that. I don't know.
Kingpin was pretty cool. I liked him.
I liked him too.
I did finish up Letterkenny. Letterkenny's done. It's like totally wrapped up. Very funny. Yep. It kind of ends kind of where it begins, which I thought was kind of nice, with a nice little message of it's okay to be comfortable, which is a weird message to end on. You know, like. Yeah. Anyways, I thought it was pretty good, and what an era of comedy. So
I finished
Sayonara.
Yeah.
Say again.
I finished that one too. Yeah.
Yeah, good. And
I'm more of a, obviously I made it clear I'm more of a Shoresy guy, but that show is quite good though. Yeah.
And the last show that I got into was The Brother's Son on Netflix. It is like half serious triad gangster show, half fish out of water comedy. And the way that they like mesh those two things together is insanely well pulled off. It's such a good show. It's kind of crazy how good it is. The fight choreography is out of this world. Big Sleeping Dogs vibes, with all the triad stuff and just the cool fighting and stuff like that.
The first 5 minutes, there's a fight in the kitchen, and it was getting so badass. And I was multitask. I thought this was a multitask show. It's not.
No, it's not.
It's not. So I was working, and I was like, hold on, he's kicking the shit out of this guy, and that is like looking real good. I had to like rewind it. And like focus.
Wait, what is this one? What is this one called?
The Brother's Son. It's on Netflix. Yeah.
Michelle Yeoh's in it, and
Michelle Yeoh. Yeah, she's.
I think there's some other people from Warrior. I don't know who else is in it. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people that I were unfamiliar with that really like. I was like, these people are really acting good. Like, it was just a really good show. I'm really surprised by how good it was.
I love. There's a part 2. The comedy in it is like the younger, I think he's the younger brother, right?
Yeah, there's an older brother who's the triad gangster, who's like the best triad gangster to ever live.
Yeah, he's
and
a
then his brother, who's
more like Ichiban.
He got moved to California at a young age. He likes improv, like he's a silly goose, like straight A student, who gets like thrusted into this world, and he's so
not
hilarious.
Entrenched in Japanese, like period. So like his brother and his mom will be talking. His mom's Michelle Yeoh. In Japanese, and then it kind of like
Chinese.
Chinese. Sorry, you're right. Of course, triad.
Yeah.
I'm racist.
God damn.
But like then it'll cut to his perspective and how the subtitles. He'll just like pick up the subtitles will fade out, and it'll be like suggestive words left over, and he'll be like, why are they talking about that? It's so funny. The humor just works really well. I really thought it was just going to be a fun like CW mindless type of vibe. And there's just more going on there for sure.
The story's really good. Like by the end of it, I'm like, oh my god, no way! Oh my god, no way! Like I was involved with everybody.
Yeah, I'm halfway through.
I just added it to my queue. It looks really good.
Very good show. I highly recommend it. That's why I spend the most time on it. Movie wise, Killers of the Flower Moon. I really like this movie. It's extremely long. It's a long movie. Maybe cut it up into a couple parts if you're gonna watch it.
Make it a series on your own. You make it a limited series.
Yeah, make it a limited series. You know, it's very, very, very good. The performances are out of this world. Hey, we were pretty mean to Native Americans, guys. I don't know if you knew that.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
Yeah. We kind of literally stole their entire land, all of their land.
Well, and really? That stuff. Like, we stole their land, but like this is about how we like manipulated them into stealing their oil money. Like it's just like they became rich. They didn't know really how to be rich in our society because it's not their society. Sure, and we just took them all for a ride. And that's basically what the whole movie's about. And like it is eye-opening. It's very good. The performances are out of this world. My thing is much like Oppenheimer, like they made it feel like the time period. It feels very lived in. The sets, like it felt like a really expensive movie to me. Like just the amount of sets and costumes and stuff like that.
With you.
Excellent. Leonardo DiCaprio's awesome.
He got snubbed.
Yeah, I guess I don't care about any of that, but yeah. The snub.
He's a big. Let me put it this way, so the internet can understand, because the internet's only seen one movie last year, and it was Barbie. Leonardo DiCaprio is a more offensive snub than Margot Robbie being snubbed. Yeah, it is 1,000%. If you watch this movie, you'll be like, "Oh, never mind. I'm dumb. I need to watch more movies." I promise you.
Agreed.
Well, I think it's for the fact that Ken got nominated from the movie Barbie. That's
Did Ken steal an award from a female? That's not possible.
The last movie I saw was another Netflix movie, Society of the Snow. I spent 2.5 hours in a clenched position, just totally butt cheeks, arms, hands, eyes, neck, everything just clenched. This is the most suffocating, depressing, horrific, ride-taking, adrenaline-pumping movie I've seen in a long time. Like, I had such a crazy visceral reaction while watching this, and just like everything that could go wrong with these people. It's about a team of lacrosse players, or what was it? I forget. It's not lacrosse, but whatever. It's a sports team. Or something? I forget. But it's like it's a team from
Uruguay.
It's rugby.
Uruguay,
isn't it?
Rugby. Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah. I think they're going to like Argentina or something like that. They're flying. They crash land in the
Andes.
Thank you. I was like, the Rockies? Nope, that's America. No, the Andes.
South Americas.
Yeah. And they have to survive in basically the most unlivable place on Earth, you know, for a long time. And like everything that could possibly go wrong goes wrong. And it is just a ride of a movie, man. It's a movie that maybe some of us grew up with Alive from the 90s. You know, it kind of covers the same story.
Yeah.
This is definitely, especially with just how far we've come with shooting and technology and stuff like that. It's a much more terrifying version of that story.
I felt like I was in that plane, dude. That was
there were multiple moments where I was just like, I'm gonna die here along with all these people.
Yeah, I'm never flying again. Thanks for the passport.
Definitely never flying again.
I'm never flying in the 70s. That's for sure.
Yeah,
I'll tell you what.
Especially like reading all this stuff about Boeing with their like doors just falling off or whatever. You know, I'm like, nope, I'm done. I'm done flying.
That's why there's
wasn't there some announcement? There was some announcement. Boing. There was some announcement that like they're like, oh yeah, some of the screws were a little bit loose. We had to tighten them up. Like, what did you say?
Excuse me.
Yeah, we just didn't tighten up all the screws. Like, well, we grounded all your planes and we canceled our orders from Boeing. I'm like, what? Or we're just allowing this stuff to.
Hey guys, you gotta cut corners. You gotta lay people off, cut off screws. You know, like we don't got money.
Already, like a few documentaries about how shady Boeing is. But of course, they make so much money that's just kind of like, man, that's really upsetting. I got to fly to New York and be really mad about this. And you're like, shit, I got to go on a Boeing. Like, I mean, it's kind of like being mad at Amazon. You have no choice but to kind of be a part.
It's like that is the worst. Oh, same day delivery.
I do need that USB mouse or whatever.
Anyways, again, no games. We kind of covered all the games I've been playing, but those are the few things I've been watching. Highly, highly, highly recommend Brother Sun for everybody. Everybody listening out there, please.
It's on my queue. Just added it while you were talking about it. Sounds really good.
I love Society of the Snow so freaking much, dude. So much.
Me too. I can see someone going, I hated that movie. I'm like, yeah, it's not fun.
Yeah, no, definitely.
It's not a fun movie.
Not a requirement for me.
Sure. Yeah.
Not the same things that I hear about like complaints with movies and games in general, and I'm like, yeah, that doesn't ruin an experience for me. And one is it's not fun. And I'm like, I don't require that usually.
Well, it's not supposed to. Yeah, some things aren't supposed to be. When you're playing Last of Us, you're not supposed to be like,
right.
Wee,
yeah, unless you're.
Whoa!
And then the second thing is,
Yay!
The second thing is when people go, that was predictable, and I'm like, yeah, but it's sometimes about how you get there. You know, like when I'm watching Echo, I'm not going to be like, and then she dies at the end. Like I know how that's going to end, but I want to know how we get there. You know.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, sorry.
So Jeff, it's your turn. Go ahead, bud.
Anyway, I'm going to spend the rest of my time talking about Echo and how great it is.
Do it.
No. All right.
I'm going to slowly slide off camera.
Yeah, I'm going to make a sandwich. I'll see you guys.
All right. So I played the Grand Blue Fantasy Relink demo for like 20 minutes, and I was like,
Me
okay,
too.
I'm going to buy it. I'm just going to.
Really?
At some point, I'm going to buy it. I really like.
Some point. Okay, maybe not day one.
No, because there's other games coming out around then that I'm going to prioritize.
Yeah, there's a few.
It's a joke.
Maybe some small ones. Yeah, nothing major. Just who cares? Anyway, so I played that. Gonna buy it. Yay! Maybe in like June. If the industry would just slow the F down. Watch some comedy specials. I'm gonna give like some yes or no's to a lot of these. Dave Chappelle, The Dreamer. It's kind of a midway. Maybe. It's okay.
I like that one.
It's okay.
I didn't love it. I liked it though.
If you're a Chappelle fan, of course.
Yeah.
If you're not, maybe start with some of this other stuff.
I will say he doesn't dwell on one thing.
That's true.
And I don't mean that as any. I just mean that like he doesn't stay focused on a single.
Which he
subject.
has done.
There are a lot of subjects that he gets to.
Yeah.
Agreed.
I like some of the stories that he told for sure. Dusty Slay Working Man, also on Netflix. Very, very funny. Please go watch it. So
I watched
funny.
It. It's great.
Oh my god, dude. The way his brain thinks, I just take a Delta 8 and let it wash over me. It's great.
But also, it's worth watching. Like sometimes I listen to comedy and don't really watch it as intently.
Oh no, you have to watch it.
But like his expressions and the way he does this one movement with his hands where he's like, all right, like he does this little hand thing. It's really perfectly timed because it's awkward, but it's very good. Like
he points it out though too. He's very much he's aware. He's aware of what he's doing. Kevin James Irregardless on Amazon Prime. It's fucking trash. Don't watch it. So Pete Davidson Turbo Fonzarelli, surprisingly funny. Here's the thing: I keep going into his specials going Turbo Fonzarelli. Does he mention that in the special? No, not at all. Here's the thing: I go into his special going, this is probably not going to be that good, and then it's very funny, and I'm very confused. So yeah, I kind of liked it. Ricky Gervais Armageddon. See my reaction to Dave Chappelle's new special. Especially this one does dwell. You know, unlike Chappelle, he moves on, tells some different stories. Gervais is still in the lane of being woke, and I'm just tired. Like I might agree with some of the things
like
he's saying
anti-woke, right?
Yeah, he's just talking about people being woke and like how annoying it is.
Yeah, and I feel like we've been living in this society for like 10 years now, and like commenting on it is like not cool. Like, it's
also like everyone's
there's nothing entertaining about it anymore.
They're just using the word.
I hear that word so much it doesn't mean anything to me anymore.
Exactly. I don't even know what it is anymore. I don't.
Yeah, like again, I always
I do and I don't at the same time. Like when something happens and I go, that's obviously what people are talking about when they say woke. And then sometimes it's like somebody washed their car by themselves without any help, and I'm like, what's woke about that?
Wait, what?
You know what I mean? Like that's not a good example because it's not real, but you know what I mean. It's something super,
I was like, what?
It's super generic
it
thing that's woke. I'm like, what?
I just miss it when woke used to mean you went into the woods and did acid. Like that's what woke used to mean.
Yeah.
Wait,
you know, now it just doesn't mean that. Like it's too loaded of a thing now. So.
Yeah. It is, and it's exhausting to listen to 90 minutes of that, or however long a special is. Anyway, The Curse, starring Emma Stone and Nathan Fielder on Showtime. It's awesome. The finale is incredible. It goes in a direction that you will literally not be able to predict, even if you tried. I promise you, you can't predict it. It's
Nathan Fielder is the best.
When it happens, I go, "What the fuck? What is happening?" It's great.
I like Emma Stone.
Emma Stone's fantastic in it.
Yeah, she's always great.
Ferrari, starring Adam Driver. Honk. It's okay. It's okay. There's a part where he's doing a test drive with his current Ferrari racer, and a prospective driver comes in the same scene, and he's like, "Hey, I'm a good driver. Do you want me to drive your cars?" And Ferrari's like, "I'm good. I'm totally good." Then the car crashes very violently. And he turns around and he's like, "Yeah, you know what? I could use you." And I'm like, did they just consolidate like two completely different days into one scene? Because it felt so unnatural. Like it just, that's kind of a metaphor for the whole movie, though. It's something about it just doesn't hit right. At least for me. I finished Loudermilk, starring Will Sasso. Did you guys know that he's a professional actor by trade?
By trade.
Oh, is he?
Yeah. I don't know if you knew that. Yeah.
Wow.
But it also has Ron Livingston from Office Space in it, and he's just kind of doing
Brian Regan's in that show too.
Brian Regan is the best actor in the show. I did not know he could act this well.
I need to get into this show. I've watched some clips, and I need to just start from the beginning and just work my way through it.
I think it's worth it. I don't think there's anything laugh out loud funny that's like consistent, but there's some good stuff in it for sure.
Whole series is on Netflix now?
Yeah, 3 seasons of it, and they plan to do 2 more at some point, but then it got canceled. So maybe Netflix will pick it back up again. We'll see.
Okay.
Masters of the Air 2-episode premiere.
Oh, I forgot about this. Oh my gosh.
Bro,
yeah.
This show is so good. Oh my god.
Yeah, I don't understand the reviews. You said this earlier, or maybe you said something like this, but like all the reviews that I read were like, well, it's just not as good as Band of Brothers or The Pacific. I'm like, well, it's not as good as 2 of the greatest TV shows.
Yeah.
Like, why are we comparing it to that?
It is
like, I don't like because
totally
it's a World
different.
War II show by Tom Hanks and Steven Spielberg. Like,
Yeah.
yes, we can. There's grounds to be compared to, but like. Something can be good in its own right?
Yeah.
Like,
It's got a
82%
on Rotten Tomatoes, which is good.
Yeah.
That's
good.
Very good. Yeah.
Audience score might be a little higher too, because people love these type of shows, especially when they're good. And this one is good. It's one of those things where like sometimes when they're bantering and having interplay, I'm able to like check my messages on my phone. I can unfortunately, I've adapted to the 2-screen experience. But when there's a mission happening and they're like, we're going to go fly out here, maybe drop some bombs, whatever, I'm like, okay, let's pay attention. Like, it's just some of the coolest sequences I've seen on TV, period. It's wow. It's unbelievable. And they're flying bombers, by the way. They're not like flying like
they're flying air fortresses.
Yeah, exactly. And so that shows you like the whole how the mechanics work of like who's doing what in the plane, because you have a top and a bottom.
Yeah.
So
well, there's like 10 people to a plane, you know, like it's everyone's got their duty. It's really interesting to see them navigate like what their
that navigator guy is so stressful. Like he's stressed out. So it's making me stress out, the viewer. Like when they're like, "Hey, man, what are the bearings on where's France or whatever?"
We don't think about it, but there's like no.
I need a minute.
There's no computers, you know, like you don't know where you're going.
So he's like doing a compass,
and you're hoping some asshole behind you is doing math right.
Like exactly.
Like, hey, go that way.
Protractor and compass and everything. Yeah. Like, you're just like it's like. I don't know how we did anything.
How long have we been flying in this direction?
Like, hey, go this way. No, you know what? Make it. Go that way. Go that way.
Yeah. The navigator is such an important role.
There's a moment where like the navigator really comes through and he kind of downplays. He's like, I just got lucky. He's like, you got everybody home alive in the most stressful, mission failure type of situation ever. Like you did a great. Like it's just there's a lot of great dialogue and stuff like that. And I think everybody is just really good at acting. It's crazy.
Yes,
and everybody's so handsome. What the heck?
Oh God.
Handsome.
So annoying.
Yes, heck, it's the hottest.
World War II had nothing but hot pilots. Okay. Just making sure.
Feathered hair, beautiful chiseled faces.
All right, guys, let's do this. Top 5 hottest wars. Go.
Yeah, hottest Vietnam, super hot, guys.
Talking about temperature
wise. Vietnam had the hippies. It's super hot.
Men.
Oh yeah.
When are we gonna get a war with the ladies, guys? Getting a lady.
Yeah. Where's our representation?
Where's mastresses of the air? Where is that?
Anyway, I love this show so far. Monarch: Legacy of Monsters wrapped up very nicely. And
I just started this, Jeff. I'm 3 episodes in.
Dude, it's such a fun show.
It's great.
And the human stuff is like some of my favorite
stuff. I care so much. It feels like a government spy show. And then there's monsters in it. Yeah,
exactly. They show up and you're like, oh, that's right, I forgot you were in this.
God, yeah, totally. Yeah.
I'm sorry, Godzilla.
It ties in perfectly to the movie that's coming out in a couple months or whenever it comes out. So that's where the finale is. I'm rewatching Nathan For You and having the best time of my life. At some point when I finish it, I will give you some of my favorite segments of the show when we have time. But right now, just know that I'm very obsessed about the show. It's just so genius and how stupid it is. Anyway, Next Goal Wins, which is Taika Waititi's new movie. It was okay. Next Goal Wins.
He continues his mech era. That's cool.
Wow. Yeah, I feel like
Taika,
because this is a Fox Searchlight, or formerly Fox Searchlight Studios movie. Disney owns them. I feel like Disney maybe told him to tone it down after Thor 4. Anyway, so I feel like that's what made it come off so painfully generic and like
I heard that it's just a generic sports movie.
Yeah, and it's kind of boring. Anyway, I watched the TED TV show. Did not expect it to be good at all. It's similar to the Pete Davidson special. I went in going, this is gonna be trash. I really enjoyed it. It was very funny. And it made me go back and rewatch the TED movies, and it turns out I think the second one is funnier now. I didn't think that before, but now I think the jokes are funnier in that movie.
All right.
Did not expect that at all. I'm really digging True Detective Night Country so far.
I forgot to bring this up. Oh my god, yeah.
It's like 2 episodes in, I think. It's way more supernatural than previous.
Strong episodes.
Yes, very strong.
Incredibly strong. Oh my gosh, yeah.
It's very, very. It's definitely leaning way more into the supernatural stuff, which they've only kind of alluded to in the last few.
Which I will say that like a lot of that supernatural stuff is tied to, do I say lore or world building to a very real place? That place that they're in, that they live in Alaska, is like known for ghost sightings because like there's 30 days of night there. Like you start getting things start playing tricks on your brain when you don't get vitamin D naturally. You know what I mean? So it's like it is known for a lot of people to see a lot of like weird stuff there.
Right.
So
but they name drop people that matter from season 1 and stuff like that. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, this is directly tied. Yeah. This is directly tied, which is awesome because the previous the season 2 and 3 at least, if they did reference it, it was very obscure. Like if they did reference stuff from season 1, but this one is very directly related to season 1.
And I'm not always a huge Jodie Foster guy. I like her, but I don't always find her to be awesome. She kicks ass in this show, dude.
Yeah, she's great.
I think she's so awesome in this. Yeah.
Yeah.
What a ball buster, man.
The girl that plays like she used to be an MMA fighter, but now she's an actor.
Is that the other lead?
Yeah. The
one
I didn't know
with,
she
like,
was an MMA
piercings
girl. In her cheeks or whatever.
She's good.
Yeah, she's really good too. I did not like normally when an MMA fighter goes acting, I'm like, oh, this is gonna be cringe, but she's actually quite good. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. That's the worst case scenario. But she's quite good. And so there was a segment I did before about where I went through a few best picture winners and I did like one sentence or whatever. I did that again. I watched like 5 of them. That was the most I could do because they're so old. So I watched like 5. Is that right? 6. Whatever. Anyway, Around the World in 80 Days won at the 29th Academy Awards in 1957. No, it's too long and too British. Don't watch it. The Lost Weekend.
Too British.
Won 18th Academy Awards in 1946. It's an unflinching movie about alcoholism, and it's pretty good. In the 40s, I didn't expect that. Broadway Melody won the 2nd Academy Awards in 1930. The characters are trash and annoying. Don't watch it. Rebecca.
I love how reductive this segment is. Yeah. That's my favorite part of it.
It's so good.
Rebecca won the 13th Academy Awards Best Picture in 1941. Big Time Yes. It's a Hitchcock movie. It's awesome. It's so incredible. Every single time I watch a Hitchcock movie, I'm like, how have I not seen this movie before? He's so good. It's almost like he was a renowned director or something.
People were right about
Gigi. Boy, let me tell you about Gigi. This won the Best Picture at 31st Academy Awards in 1959. Good God, no. Creepy AF music with really bad singers where they're just sing-talking the whole time. It opens on a song about how great little girls are. So, yeah, it's really, really creepy. So skip it. The Best Years of Our Lives won at the 19th Academy Awards for Best Picture in 1947. Actually, give this one a yes. It's a movie about World War II vets struggling to readjust to civilian life.
And that was literally right after World War II.
Literally right after. And that's why it easily won Best Picture, because it was like, I'm living this right now. So, the one about alcoholism, The Lost Weekend, and this one, I was like, how did they make these in the 40s? And it was like, fine. I think they were pre-code movies where eventually there was a code instituted where it was like you can't have nudity and
I thought you said pre-COVID. I was like, yeah, Jeff,
pre-code. Eventually they implemented a code that was like you can't say like Jesus, you can't fart, you can't say tits, or I don't know, whatever the codes were. I see
what you're saying. Okay,
the Hays code. But yeah, that's all I had. That's everything.
Yay.
That's a Jeff number of things right there. And
that
Dan says he also
there's
has
no way. There's no way you have it.
No, I definitely don't. If that's an actual Jeff amount of things, then no. It's like half a Jeff amount of things.
I have a plug. So on Current Cinema, I have 2 new videos I'm going to be putting out soon-ish. One is about I'm currently watching Sundance movies. I'm going to talk about my favorites from the festival. And it's just going to be a video, like 10, 15 minute video. And then the other one's going to be me predicting the Oscars, the winners for this year. And that's, again, another one that'll be like 10, 15 minutes.
Always
so yeah, stay tuned to our Current Gen channel because it'll be on that.
Stay tuned currently for cinema stuff.
Current.
Yeah.
All right, Dan, what do you got? What's your Jeff number of things?
Half a Jeff number of things.
Yeah.
So aside from still just playing Alan Wake 2, which is awesome, that whole scene that Kyle had referred to, that's like it's even better than what they did in Control. Like that was just like
my wife. You played Control, didn't you?
Yeah, I don't remember it. I need to like rewatch it because I remember thinking like, holy crap, this is like one of the coolest things I've ever experienced. I don't remember it like vividly because it's been a while, but I remember thinking it was really rad. Yeah, the way that this is, because it's just, I don't know, like it feels like you're going like like backstage in like a play, but you're playing a video game, and then it's got the horror vibes and like things are happening, and it's like what? Like this is insane. This is
the song's lyrics is like they're really good, and
but the song's fun. Like
they catch you up to his whole journey up until that point. Yeah,
the song's fun and cool sounding. The choreography is like cheesy and yet still a good time.
Yeah.
Everything about it is like you don't know what to feel because there's also things trying to kill you. There's lots of things happening. Yeah,
it's just really cool. It's super cool. Star Wars, still doing that. Survivor, that is cool. I just left that first planet, so
nice.
So you got your beak wet with the cantina. How are you feeling about the cantina?
The cantina is really cool. I like the DJ. I like the robot DJ.
Love the DJ, man. You can find and buy music. So
So wait, you just started that Western style planet?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Because I thought you were saying that you left that one to go to the next place. Because that's
that's what I thought too. Okay,
that's a pretty big. That's a pretty big story moment when that happens. I was gonna ask you what you thought about that, but okay.
No, so I'm just there, like jumping around all the area. This whatever's in the sand trying to nom on me, nom. So I'm sure I'll kill that bastard. Maybe, hopefully. And then my wife and I started Fae Farm, which is another like farm simming type of game. It's actually really cute. Yeah, Gay Farm. It's actually really cute.
It's a documentary.
Really cute, really charming.
I knew it. They farm gay people. That's how they exist. Okay.
That's not. Don't say farm gaming. We don't farm gay people. We don't farm.
I just want to get canceled by the end of this.
Let them be free, Jeff. Let them be free.
Come on.
But it's actually really cute, and I think mechanically it feels really like fun. There's actually something unique to it, and there is combat in it, and like the animations are like surprisingly nice in it. Like I don't know. There's actually something kind of like unique that they kind of got going on for what they're doing. So there are also things that are kind of like no, I don't think so.
I don't know if you guys are playing co-op together or something.
No, we basically do the switching of days. That's how we usually play. But I should actually check that. I should check if it's co-op.
That's a really good way to play it together.
Yeah, these games are fun. My wife and I really enjoy them. I just like I think clearly why Stardew is still like the best out of all of them is because like it just like and it's not perfect, but it is the most perfect example, I think, because it just does mostly everything right. So you got all these other guys doing these things, and there's still just like that thing here and there. It's like, why are you doing that? Like, that's really dumb. Like, for example, in Fae Farm, much like in these farm games, you sell stuff, right? You sell your produce, etc. Usually you throw that in a bin and it just stacks, right? Because that just makes sense. Here, you you stack them in like on a shelf, and you can actually see the item, which is cool, but it stacks individually. So there's only 4 tables with 8 spots. If I got, way more than, what was that? 8, 16, 24. So 32 things, then like I can't sell it that day. I already ran out of space because it only plops them one individually on the table. That's really stupid. I don't know. To me, that just like seems like a really dumb design choice. So
especially if other people have done it right before,
Yes, exactly. Because you just normally throw it in a bin, and it's just like you have a stack of 50, whatever. It's just in a bin as the stack of 50. So it's like, why can't I just throw a stack of 50 stuff on the table? Like, it just seems like a dumb thing. But yeah, it's cute. But as far as things I've watched and finished, Blue Eye Samurai, that show was way more violent than I expected, and way more sexy time than I expected.
Yeah, a lot of sex in that show. Yeah,
way more sexy time than I expected. But man,
more like Blue Eye Banger Eye, am I right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. But man, what a cool story.
The animation in that show is out of this world.
It's just, but like just everything that happened,
like choreographed for real before they animated it.
Yeah, that's very cool too.
Didn't need to do that at all. That was so cool.
But yeah, I really dig all the stuff that's gone on there in that first season, and then obviously going into the second season that should be interesting. My wife really wanted to watch Barbie. Apparently, she brought it up a couple times. I forgot. We watched Barbie.
What'd you think?
I mean, I don't understand.
Oscar-winning movie. Is that what you're saying?
I don't understand all the people being mad about it, but like it was fine. Like,
it's still $1 billion. It's probably the bad's probably just a bunch of idiots online who we just see because that's how the algorithm works, you know.
I think it's that woke stuff, right? It's thrown around
but it's not even woke. That's what. Oh, it's so stupid.
Well, there's that one scene where she goes on that tirade, right? And I'm like, I'm sitting there being like, you know,
that
what?
monologue got her an Oscar nomination, which is kind of wild to think about, because the rest of her acting does not measure up to that scene at all. Like, in my opinion.
Well, because that actually is goofy, right? It's the weakest part of the movie, because they're like all of a sudden become really on the nose when they've already communicated a lot of that stuff. But it was fine. Listen, that movie, I'm surprised it got so much hate. Not kind of, but not really. And I'm surprised it got so much love, like with awards and stuff. And like it is a fun summertime movie that got some giggles out of me, and clearly they had a good time making. I don't know, man.
Yeah, I'll definitely talk about in the video where I make Oscars predictions. I'll definitely bring up like all the things about Barbie for sure, and like how competition season actually works. Like, I mean, it's not as simple as like the one movie you saw is going to get nominated no matter what. It's really not. Otherwise, Avatar: The Way of Water would have gotten way more nominations, and it didn't. It got like 3. I don't know, not that many.
It's just not what I would. I guess it's not what I would have expected out of something that's just like, we're making a live action Barbie movie. You know what I mean? Like, there's some stuff in there. It's like, oh, this is just, I just would not have expected like this tone. I think, you know, all
of us, when it was like announced, first off, when it was announced, it went through several cycles where it was like, first it was like Anne Hathaway, she noped out of it. It was a totally different movie then. And then they cast Amy Schumer, and of course, no to that. And then I think Margot Robbie came on once Greta Gerwig expressed interest, and she was like, I'll do this if you do it, and vice versa. Because I mean, Greta Gerwig already had a pedigree. She already had Little Women and Lady Bird and a bunch of other collaborative works that were acclaimed.
I really wish Amy Schumer had done it. It would have been such
such a train wreck.
Comedy would have been so awesome.
So many vagina jokes.
Oh, Jesus.
But like, anyway, I think even then people were still like, I wasn't, because I love Greta Gerwig's work, but like, you know, they were still kind of like, what the hell is this going to be? This sounds like it's going to be ass. So I feel like literally everybody went with low expectations. It got blown away. And then word of mouth and Barbenheimer, of course, that led to a lot of that.
My wife and I saw it. We thought it was, sounds like Dan, that you guys are in the same boat. It's like, it's somewhere between fine and good. Like it was a decent movie watch. It wasn't like, I wasn't mad that I watched.
More than I anticipated. So.
Same. Yeah. Like
it was so stupid funny. Yeah.
And then like my son ended up seeing it in theaters. I think he saw it twice. I
did too.
Him and his group of friends, guys and girls, all just thought it was very funny. Like they thought it was hilarious. So I'm like, fine. It's fine.
I'm sure there were movies that we watched in high school that we thought were hilarious. That like our parents were like, I don't get this Will Ferrell guy or whatever.
Yeah.
Dude, that's
Will Ferrell's very funny. Kyle, you haven't seen it yet, right?
No.
Oh, okay. I think it's somewhere you can stream it. I don't know.
But yeah, you know, I don't know about you guys, but like honestly, I just stopped caring about the patriarchy. Also, when I realized it wasn't about the horses, so you know, I also just stopped.
Love that line. That's so funny.
Same. Yeah.
You know what's funny is like everybody when the movie first came out was talking so much about Ryan Gosling and how amazing he was, and they were right. And then he got nominated for an Oscar and Barbie didn't. And it's like, well, you should have talked about Barbie more because you didn't. You talked.
That's how that works, right?
How great Ryan Gosling was. You really did, and he deserved it. He was so good.
But yeah, so we watched that, and then all right. So I'm gonna do this whole like the last three. No, so the last three things. I'm starting at a low, even though I didn't actually hate it at all. But it seems like a lot of people just overall were like, yeah, no. And then high note. So number 3, Quantumania.
Oh. Yeah, it was fine.
Ant-Man, Quantumania.
I think we all three.
I think I liked it more than disliked it. I didn't hate it.
I liked it more than I disliked it. Yeah. I'm also like, if people were like, I'm not going to see that movie, I'm like, yeah. Okay.
I watched most of it too late at night and missed a big chunk in the middle because I fell hard asleep.
Sure.
Hard. Okay.
I really loved the scene where he's climbing. You know, just a bunch of climbing. There's a bunch of them, and he's climbing.
Yeah,
I thought that was hilarious.
Really cool
I thought that was hilarious because there's the Baskin Robbins one.
Yeah, yeah. Good gag.
So I don't know. I thought that was funny. I just like Paul Rudd a lot. I think Paul Rudd's great.
I do too. He's easy to like, man. Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, I don't know. I also and I know we've had the discussion about multiverse. Like I like the idea of multiverse. I like the idea of introducing.
You and I are in the same boat, Dan. Yeah.
Of that. I think it has to be done well, and there's definitely some kind of like meh to not so great kind of things going on. So it's like it's throwing everything all out of whack, right?
Yeah. Like I think there's a right way to do it, and they're really resistant to do it that way.
Yeah.
But it's an interesting concept to explore for sure.
Yeah. And then Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special. Finally watched the holiday special after the holidays.
Nice. You're close enough timing.
It brought me right back in. So that was fun. It was an endearing little special. I liked it.
Kevin Bacon was good.
Good for Kevin Bacon for
the Kevin Bacon.
Okay with
yes.
That. Yeah.
I liked also the kind of like meta, like talking shit about like actors just sucking and actors are just terrible. Like that kind of little thing there. I thought that was funny.
You want to be an actor?
Yeah,
you did.
And then right into Guardians of the Galaxy 3.
That movie's great. Yeah.
So yeah,
what'd you think of 3?
I mean, I was sitting here working and literally like scenes, and I was just like, there were tears in my forming in my eyes.
How dare you?
Oh my god, I gotta do work.
It has some heavy moments. Yeah.
Also,
the comedy just like works every time. Whereas like stuff like Quantumania, like there's like hit and miss comedy. You're like, I see what they were trying to go there, but like, but Guardians, I don't think there was a single joke that I was like, that was dumb. I can't believe they went for that. You know?
Yeah, exactly.
Gunn is just good at that because he did it with also
Suicide Squad.
He did it with Suicide Squad because it's like that movie is like unbelievably violent and just like holy crap, like that person's dead, this person's dead. But then you're also just laughing immediately after at something. But then also now this person's dead. But then you're laughing again. Like
and then he gives a guy named Polka Dot Man a good story.
Yeah,
a great arc.
Yeah. He's just good at like riding the wave of like, all right, we're going up to the comedy and then we're going back down to you're crying and you're sad, you're back up laughing, now you're sad again. And like,
Guardians 3 really deserves. I mean, the visual effects are just unbelievable in that movie.
Very good.
Yeah, especially the stuff with obviously with Rocket and his friends.
Dude, that stuff.
It hit at a time where Marvel needed a win.
They did
to win back,
really bad,
but it also. It's unfortunate for it. It's at a time where overall, sorry if you disagree, it's just my opinion. I think this is the popular opinion. Marvel's on a bit of a valley.
Yeah.
A bit of a valley.
I think everybody here probably agrees with that. Yeah.
Well, that's why I was saying
Spider-Man. It's like it's not consistent enough for me to disagree. You know?
Yeah, exactly.
Phase 4 or 5 things. It's like you had Spider-Man that, in my opinion, was a high note. You have
Super
this
high.
That's a high note, and then you got again all these things sprinkled in that are not.
Loki was insane, like an insane high note.
Yeah,
what was the other show before Loki that was like super good?
Moon Knight?
No.
WandaVision?
No, it was one like right before it.
I'm totally missing.
Maybe it's What If. Maybe I'm just thinking of What If.
Oh, okay.
What If has been a lot of fun.
You mean
Secret
like
Invasion came out, but I wouldn't call that.
No, it definitely wasn't Secret Invasion. I didn't like the ending of that at all.
In fact, that's how I feel about most Marvel like TV shows. It's like, they didn't stick the landing on that. How interesting.
Yeah, it's such a bummer every time.
Yeah. Whereas Loki, I'm like, how did you guys get this ending?
Yeah.
Where all these other shows are just like fart out an ending. They're like, I guess.
That's really the most annoying thing because it's like. It's just they're stretched too thin. The quality is just all over the place, and it's frustrating because I really do think that the multiverse thing could be done really well, and because there's just too many, they're spinning too many freaking plates that it's just all over the place, and it sucks because they could have done something with it, but I don't know.
I guess it wasn't a TV show. I guess it was just What If I was thinking of, where I enjoyed every episode.
I know you did like
quite
that
thoroughly.
Yeah.
What If it was great? Yeah.
I think the problem with the multiverse is that, in my opinion, when done well, like the Spider-Man No Way Home, the other universes are playing like side characters to the one you care about. Like here's your central main one, and I think sometimes when there's too much like, hey, there's no stakes here because stakes is the wrong word maybe, but there's no the weight of what's happening feels a little like I don't know who I'm supposed to care about and why, and that's what the multiverse can do unless it's handled really well. Like I thought No Way Home handled it really well. And some others, I think Doctor Strange I don't think that one handled it as well. Anyway, that's just my personal opinion. I think when it's handled in a way that is either uncomfortable for some or whatever, then it's going to turn people off to it. And,
maybe this is just like the easy thing to be like, do this because, and I don't know, everyone's gonna think what they want because they obviously have their heroes that they like and their actors that they like, but like I guess like with the multiverse situation, I think it's a good way to sort of like soft reboot things. So what they should be doing is committing more to like, this character's got to go, this hero gotta die. Sorry guys, they're gone. Somehow we replace them either with an alternate version of that hero, or just like we're gonna go in a different direction and we're bringing in this hero into the fold. You know what I mean? Like, which is what maybe they're doing with X-Men, because there's all this stuff going on with what's his face being fired, so now they're having to like rewrite everything, and X-Men getting kind of roped in. So who knows what they're doing with that? That seems to be a big mess because they were focusing on Kang, and now not so much because I don't know if you guys feel that happen. I don't know if killing characters seems like a too easy thing to do or lazy, or I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like no matter what, they're gonna reboot the whole thing after Avengers 6. So like it's like we're all just barreling towards that, and they're gonna reboot it, and X-Men's gonna show up, and all these other wacky, characters that we love will be recast and stuff like that, and that's great. I think you do need to kind of like reset it a little bit. I think we've gone way too far off the tracks, for a lot of stuff, but
totally.
Yeah, you can keep drawing the same character, you can keep animating and voice acting a character, but like these are actual people that are getting older, so eventually they kind of have to go,
What's crazy is that there's pretty much a whole new generation of folks who haven't seen a lot of the Marvel stuff. Feels like old movies your parents watched.
Yeah, I know.
I don't even want to think about that.
When they started coming out, I was like 20 and young, and
so
love to go to the movies and yada yada, and like that, those days are dead,
If you allow some of these threads to finish or whatever happens, and then if there is a reboot, or if they give it a little space, which I think would be ideal, give it like a year or two of no Marvel stuff, and then come back with whatever reboot thing you're going to do, they're going to capture a combination of those of us who saw all the other stuff and are interested in kind of testing the waters again, into a whole new generation of folks who are now teenagers and college age students.
I honestly believe that a guy like Kevin Feige,
I'm so not comfortable with young people. It's just
he's doing his best, Kevin Feige, but this is also his first time ever doing anything like this. If he got a second try at it, you know how like coherent and good it would be. I still believe in this guy as like a really good producer.
He did really good.
This is his first time creating something like this, and that everyone's trying to create now, these shared universes. And like if he got a crack at starting it all over again. Again, I think the coherentness would be, something to his benefit. So we'll
especially if they can focus it in. I think right now one of their struggles, and there's a lot of them. They're trying to be too many things to too many people. They're trying to please so many different audiences, and it's just like stop trying to please everybody. Like they're trying to please like modern audiences about their politics and worldviews, and comic book super fans, and people who only watch the MC. Like they're trying to please everybody. And that's part of why there's a bit of a mess happening, because it's inconsistent.
A lot of different tones,
A lot of different tones. Yeah.
Totally.
That was it. That was my Jeff amount of stuff.
That is
Jeff amount.
That was a lot, dude. Now I know how you guys feel when I talk. That's crazy.
a lot of watching stuff.
Hey, first of all, apologize to Dan. That was rude.
I'm kidding. Yeah, I'm totally kidding.
I mean, I barely even said that much.
Dan's like, guys.
I know. He said something and we talked for him,
man. All right, we'll wrap up this episode. Go check out some of the Let's Plays. That's some of the stuff I've been playing outside of new things. I played a little bit of Witchwood, a little bit of They Always Run. Those are really cool games. You can see I do know commentary Let's Plays for some of those where I'm like, you don't hear me talk. I'll just play it. So you can go check those out. Of course, playing Valheim still. Spending a lot of time with that.
I did one of those, but I want to find the right game that I haven't played before. You know what I mean?
I've got a whole bunch in my library that I've reinstalled, that I purchased at one point, that I ended up skipping. I've got a lot of those. So I'll be digging into the backlog for these. Every Friday I'm putting up a little, just not super long, like opening 30 minutes or so of certain games. If for some reason some of them blow up and people are really interested, I'm happy to go back and keep playing through a game and record it. But for the most part, I've just been doing the opening, and then that's all I'm.
Well, hey, you're doing a stand-up job there, Tim.
That's awesome, man.
So some of the stuff on deck would be Wilder Myth, however you say that. Inmost has been in my library forever, and I've always wanted to play it and never played it. There's a game called Unavowed, which is like a
Oh, not avowed, unavowed.
No, unavowed, unavowed. Has really good reviews. It's like a point and click adventure narrative game. It looks really interesting. Eterna Noctis, Trinity Fusion, which I started at the beginning of, but I want to go back and just kind of let me play it again fresh. They just added the new parry system, so I kind of want to try it again from the beginning. So yeah, those are some of the things coming up. I watched a couple things, nothing super notable. The newest thing would be Griselda with Sofia Vergara. I'm 3 episodes in. If you like the Narcos shows, I mean, it's right up. It's the same. Oh. It's made by the same people. It's like it's those that type of story. It's a little on the nose with some of the dialogue where they're just kind of like, but I really need to sell this Coke in order to support my family. Like, I know that's what you've been trying to do for 3 episodes.
That's why you sell Coke usually.
And I don't know what it is. I feel like, I don't know if it's a translation thing or sometimes writers just feel like they need to reinform the audience why she's doing this.
Yeah,
like, I already know.
Exposition check-in. Yeah.
So there's a little bit of that, but overall, it's it's well made. Sofia Vergara does a really good job in the role so far. She
also looks amazing for her age. Like, holy crap.
She does, and she's got some kind of nose prosthetic or something. Like, I know that she's had work done. I know that, but like it looks like they've got some kind of prosthetic, and I'm not sure exactly.
Make her more look like the person. That
like the person.
They Bradley Cooper her.
Yeah.
So
Maestro.
Oh, and then if you need something a little more lighthearted, my wife and I've been watching through season 2 of Love on the Spectrum, which, as Shane Gillis said, like, it's wild that show is allowed to be made, but it is actually very, very sweet. People who have all different types of, sometimes it's autism, but there's other types of disabilities, and it's essentially like tracking them trying to find love, and it's actually quite endearing, I'll be honest with you. So we watched that.
I've heard that. Yeah.
Like it. It's very, very sweet. Although Shane Gillis does have a really funny bit about it on his last special. So that is it for this week. It's been fun to catch up. Next week, guys, we've got Suicide Squad. We'll be spending 2 hours talking about just that.
Somebody needs to fall on the sword.
Actually, let's be honest. We'll just be mostly talking about...
We'll draw straws whenever we're done recording.
Yeah, I know.
I know I've got to at least get to the island stuff in Infinite Wealth before Persona 3 Reload, because I really want to play that game more than anything else.
Yeah, Persona 4.
No!
So, but thank you guys for checking us out and listening. Make sure you smash that subscribe. I can't even do it. Just whatever. Thanks for watching and hanging out.
Thanks for all the people that have joined us.
It's disrespectful to press the button. You got to
or don't click it. I really don't care. Whatever. You don't have to click it. Don't click anything you don't want to click.
This is a nice vibe for all the new people that have joined in. Welcome, everyone.
Welcome, and I don't care.
Yeah, and
welcome,
whatever.
Fuck you.
Whatever.
2024, the year of being checked out.
Yeah, it really is. You'll learn more about that, folks. All right. We'll see you guys later. Peace.